for the shipping costs. But that doesn't mean the program comes without other costs. The impact on policing has been huge. In Georgia alone, police departments and sheriff's offices have received more than 2,700 military rifles, night vision goggles, and laser gun sights, and literally hundreds of armored vehicles, including more than 24 mine-resistant vehicles built to fight the war on terror.
Because a mine is a terrible thing to waste.
Has there ever been a mine set off in the United States in the so-called war on terror?
Or the war on drugs, or the war on, the war on citizens, whatever you want to call it. Because that, to me, seems more like what the police are doing. It seems more like a war on you, the people, than anything else. But a new Atlanta Journal...
Yeah, the drugs don't fight back.
No, it's true. It's true.
They don't pick up arms.
But they've still managed to win the war on drugs, which is very impressive. Very impressive.
Well, I mean, pacifism is a very powerful thing.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't necessarily agree with that statement, but go on.
A new Atlanta Journal-Constitution analysis of a decade of records across 651 Georgia police departments and sheriff's offices found departments that took more than $1,000 in this 1033 money on average.
Which is one wrench in military pricing.
Yeah, half a toilet seat or something. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But if they took more than $1,000... on average, they fatally shot about 4 times as many people.
Wow. Talk about bang for your buck.
So, yeah, literally. So if they took more than $1,000 of this 1033 money, they killed 4 times more people on average than they would have without any of this military equipment.
I wonder how much they would how much military equipment you'd have to give them before they killed the entire population of their district.
Well, it seems like they're trying to find out.
Yes.
Oh, it's going to get deeper. I hope you're wearing your boots. 855-450-3733 is our number if you want to call in and give us your thoughts about military equipment being supplied to the police.
Screw the boots. Save the watch.
More Free Talk Live coming up.
News from news.bitcoin.com. Economist claims that value of U.S. dollar will descend by 35% in the next year, and the dollar is the most overrated major currency in the world today. U.S. Federal Reserve is actively working on turning the U.S. dollar into a digital currency. Bitcoin set a new record for time above $10,000 in value. Bitcoin.com is your source for getting started with cryptocurrencies, getting a wallet, buying Bitcoin Cash, mining, and all the latest cryptocurrency news at news.bitcoin.com.
Join liberty-minded voluntarists, anarchists, and libertarians from June 28th through July 4th for ForkFest 2021 at Rogers Campground in the beautiful White Mountains of New Hampshire. ForkFest happens the week after the Porcupine Freedom Festival, and ForkFest is decentralized, which means no one is in charge. That also means there's no ticket cost. Just reserve your camping, RV site, or motel room with Rogers Campground for June 28th through July 4th. Where better to celebrate Independence Day than around other freedom-loving activists in the Shire? You can relax and enjoy the camaraderie of like-minded people, or you can create whatever experience or event you'd like others to have. If you're planning an event for ForkFest, be sure to let others know in advance. You can connect with fellow ForkFesters via the unofficial Telegram chat or the ForkFest forum. Links to those are on the unofficial website, forkfest.party. Mark your calendar for June 28th through July 4th, 2021. We'll see you at forkfest.party.
On a multidimensional probe, the Syskov Transtemporal Vehicle Clio discovers 2 entire universes have been annihilated in a massive time-traveling accident. Robert Kaminsky and his crew race home with the news, only to learn their own universe is next. To pull off the impossible, they'll have to embrace the unpalatable by placing their trust in the admin, Syskov's xenophobic sister universe, and the same people who tried to kill them all only months before. The Valkyrie Protocol by David Weber and Jacob Hollow. Available October 6th, wherever books are sold. Visit Bain Books at Bain.com for more.
Hey guys, Mark Claire here, lionsofliberty.com, where we strive to advance the ideas of liberty daily. We bring you the Morning Roar. That's right, every Monday to Friday we'll have a brand new edition of the Morning Roar, where we provide a roundup of some news stories that you may not find in the mainstream media or even in your typical social media newsfeed. We find stories that relate to the ideas of liberty and provide you with our liberty perspective on them. Every Monday, we have our longest running feature, Mondays with Murray, named after the great libertarian Murray Rothbard, where we'll examine an article or an excerpt from his works and help convey his view along with our little spin as well. We wrap it all up every Friday with Felony Friday, where our own John Odermatt goes out and takes a look at some sort of felony. There's felonies committed every day, you know, whether it's a felony committed by the police, a politician, or even an average citizen. You can find all of this and so much more over at lionsofliberty.com, advancing the ideas of liberty daily.
Some of you asked, and now we've delivered. LRN.FM's live Keene, New Hampshire studio shows are now streamed in HD on Twitch. Visit our channel at twitch.lrn.fm and give it a follow. If you have Amazon Prime, you get one free subscription on Twitch. If you use it on our channel, Twitch will give LRN.FM a monthly piece of your Prime subscription cost. So please watch, follow, share, and subscribe to twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm.
My name is Jacob Hornberger. I'm president of the Future of Freedom Foundation, which Congressman Ron Paul awarded for having an outstanding freedom website. Write us at fff@fff.org, and we'll send you a free 3-month subscription to our monthly journal of libertarian essays and our booklet, Economic Liberty in the Constitution, which George Mason University economics professor Walter Williams praised in a recent column. That's fff@fff.org.
Now you can follow LRN.FM on the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm.
Yeah, it is Free Talk Live. Our toll-free number here is 855-450-3733. That's 855-450-FREE, as in freedom. In the studio tonight, it is myself, the Reverend Captain Kickass.
Yeah, it's Ian.
And nobody.
And we have been talking, we're just kind of starting to get into this article from military.com about military equipment being supplied to police forces, which, of course, results in, apparently, 4 times more killing of citizens, according to the analysis of a decade of records. And we could talk more about that. Also,
I'm sure it's just a coincidence.
yeah, it's probably just a sheer coincidence that 4 times as many people die because police departments get this military equipment, meant for killing and, all sort of death things. Also, during the break, we were talking about geek, nerd, and dork.
We were.
And what's the difference between those things? And can you be more than one simultaneously? Or does one require the other? That kind of a thing. Ian, you've done some...
I seem to fit all of those definitions.
Ian's done some crack research. He deployed his team of research analysts during the break.
They're all smoking crack.
Right. Like crack agents.
To do some research, and you've got something from dictionary.com.
Yeah, interestingly, dictionary.com, they wrote up a whole article all about dork, nerd, and geek, and, what's the difference between these words. They point out that all words, including conventional slurs like bitch, can be used in jest or in anger to praise or disparage. Calling someone a nerd can be a compliment or a diss, depending on the person and context. So what sets these terms apart? So then they give the definitions of each. Dork is a silly, out-of-touch person who tends to look odd or behave ridiculously around others. Stop being such a dork.
Live free or spaz.
Then nerds
Spaz free or die.
are considered socially awkward and, quote, an intelligent but single-minded person obsessed with a non-social hobby or pursuit.
I feel personally attacked by this definition.
Like doing live radio, for example?
Or being a libertarian, for example.
Or just being a geek.
Or perhaps a musician.
I don't know. I mean, libertarianism isn't particularly non-social, although many of the people within it certainly are, because there's a high level of, autism, I guess, within the
Well, there's a high level of logic, I think, is the thing.
And then what was the other one? Geek?
Geek would be a digital technology expert or enthusiast, and a person who has excessive enthusiasm for and some expertise about a specialized subject or activity.
I'd say the one that...
Or historically, a man who eats worms, bugs, broken glass, or other bizarre things in a carnival or circus atmosphere.
And let's not forget the classic plastic pocket protector, the symbol of geeks from the 1980s.
It's true.
Yeah, I guess that would be a geek symbol for sure.
Or was it nerds?
I mean, nerd and geek, they're pretty similar.
So
here, right?
from your definitions, I think the one that most describes me is geek.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I'm like, that one checks all the boxes, but I have shades of the other two as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know.
They
Well,
added-
at least a need,
At least
which
what?
is part nerd and part geek.
Nerd, neek, gerd.
They
I don't know.
add a fourth term, which is dweeb, to the list
Oh,
here.
yeah.
A wimp or stupid or an uninteresting person.
See, that one I'm
Yeah,
not.
there's no dweebs around here.
Yeah, there's nothing nice about dweeb. Whereas
Yeah.
the other ones, at
Nah,
least you can have something
I mean,
positive about
like you
that.
The
say,
other
they can
shoes
be.
fit. I'll wear them.
They can be contextually either a compliment or an insult. Like, nobody, you frickin' nerd, right?
Yeah.
Or nobody, you're a nerd.
There
Right.
are some
Yeah.
etymologies.
Well, I've also been described as an alpha geek,
Ooh.
which is
so you're the top geek, basically.
yeah, exactly. When I was an alpha C++ geek.
Weird.
Do you want any etymology? Because they actually get into that.
Yeah,
as
sure.
well.
Why
I
not?
would like.
So back in the 1960s, the word dork meant penis, which one of the earliest instances comes from the 1961 novel Valhalla by J.R. Peacock, where dork had a fancy-seeming spelling. Quote, you satisfy many women with that dork, spelled D-O-R-Q-U-E.
Ooh.
Wow.
Spelling
Dorquois.
of dorquois suggests a connection to dork, a 1940 slang nickname for a soldier. Other origin theories of dork are that it's alteration of D**CK, which would make sense for dork's initial phallic meaning. Dork may also be related to dirk, a slang term, also for penis, dating all the way back to the late 1700s.
Wait, what does that mean for Dirk Benedict of the A-Team?
You'll have to ask him. Dork went on to mean people who do silly, ridiculous things. It's pretty common in slang to liken a foolish person to a taboo body part. Butthead, anyone? And then for the etymology of
Headbutt?
nerd,
Or like
I'll
radio
headbutt
shows or something?
which they're coming back on Comedy Central apparently soon.
Nice.
Beavis
Who
and
is?
Butthead. Beavis and Butthead.
Yes.
Nerds' origins are hazy. Could the 1960s have anything to do with that, they say? The most frequently cited story is that Dr. Seuss coined the word as the name of a bizarre-looking creature in his 1950s children's book, If I Ran the Zoo. Seuss also introduced nerds' friends, Preep, Prue, and Nurgle in the same book. A year later, Newsweek reported on a nerd's popularity with slang-slinging youth of the day. Quote, someone who once would be called a drip or a square is now, regrettably, a nerd. So Newsweek, again, talking about that as far back as 1951. The problem with the Seuss origin theory is it's very unlikely that teens who probably weren't reading Seuss picked up the word and used it so much that it became a national story in only a year. And why use nerd and not Nurgle? Nerd had to have been around before Seuss, but the doc certainly made it more popular. Etymologists think nerd has a combination of influences. In addition to Seuss, these include a long-running joke of spelling drunk backwards. K-N-U-R-D.
That makes nerd. Wow.
Implying that studious people don't drink or party. Oh, interesting. So if you're drunk, you're not studious. If you're studious, you're the reverse of drunk.
I don't know.
Apparently, these people didn't see the people I went to college with.
Yeah, I can certainly drink and study. Not
It's
only
true.
that, I can also study drinking.
Good point. We're talking about, stereotypes here, right?
Okay.
A 1930s slang term for nuts, nerds, and a ventriloquist dummy popular in the 1940s named Mortimer Snurd. In the 1950s, nerds were square, but in the 1984 movie Revenge of the Nerds,
Yep.
started to hint that it was hip to be square. Computer culture also helped nerd take flight, but the word wasn't explicitly associated with technology.
You know, I was thinking during the whole Weinstein thing about that movie, Revenge of the Nerds. Did you guys see it?
Sure,
I
of
have,
course.
yeah.
Who hasn't seen it?
How
From the- who-
rapey is that ending where the guy
think you've mentioned
masquerades
this
as
before.
somebody else and has sex with somebody who thinks they're having sex with this other person?
Right,
That's
yeah.
a horrible thing to do.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I just had to note that.
Technological prowess was never a requirement to become a nerd, only that the nerd be extremely intelligent in any academic area to which they paid attention while ignoring the trivial social scene. whereas geek is more of a technological
Yeah.
side of thing. Despite being less cool, nerd has definitely achieved a trendier and more complimentary status than dork and dweeb. It's rare to find a proud computer dork or a word dweeb, but self-touting computer nerds, book nerds, and word nerds are everywhere. From the outset, then, nerd seems to operate like geek, in that you can practice or preface nerd with just about any subject in which you claim to have some sincere interest and expertise.
In my experience, nerds and geeks use nerd and geek interchangeably.
Nerds, geeks, dorks, and dweebs. We've got more of that coming up. This is Free Talk Live, 855-450-3733.
Divvy's been a pretty good investment for Free Talk Live. Their ad campaign started in September 2019, and from mid-March to mid-July, the values soared by 10 times. It's not too late. Divvy's new wallet hasn't even released yet, and other things are happening that I can't even say on the radio. If you want to invest and potentially do well, go to DivvyProject.org. I can tell you that FTL is deepening its partnership with the guys from DivvyProject.org. Past performance is not an indication of future profit. DivvyProject.org. DIVI Project.org.
From New York Times and Wall Street Journal bestselling author Larry Correia comes the latest chapter in the epic military fantasy saga of The Forgotten Warrior. When the Grand Inquisitor perverts the law in his genocidal plot to kill every man, woman, and child in the untouchable cast, only the traitor Ashok Vadal and the Sons of the Black Sword stand in his way. If it's war he wants, it is war he will get. Baen Books presents Destroyer of Worlds. Available September 1st wherever books are sold. Visit MonsterHunterNation.com for more.
Why did you move to the Shire?
I moved here to the Shire because there's other people around who take liberty just as seriously as I do.
I moved to the Shire because I saw videos of people challenging authority and thought that I could get support myself. It called to me, like, do this, right now.
I wanted to be around people like me who got it, and once I got here, I knew there was nowhere else that I wanted to be.
I've always wanted to change the world, so I moved to the Shire to join people who were actually working towards doing the same thing.
The people here are awesome, loving, and positive. It was for the adventure and for the feeling of something important is happening here, and I just wanted to come to sort of be part of that.
Visit ShireSociety.com to read and sign the Shire Society Declaration and learn the reasons why, if you love liberty, you should immigrate to the Shire. Plus, connect with others via the forum at ShireSociety.com. That's ShireSociety.com. Bitcoin.com has launched a trading platform at local.bitcoin.com, allowing you to buy or sell Bitcoin Cash via dozens of payment methods like PayPal, Venmo, bank deposit, remittances, or meeting in person with cash. There are no ID requirements to sign up for and use the site, and all communications between buyers and sellers are encrypted. Finally, a global trading platform that respects your privacy. Visit local.bitcoin.com to get started trading Bitcoin Cash. Local.bitcoin.com. So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM. LRN.FM's free-to-air satellite feeds blanket most of 2 continents. It was my goal to put our channel there so people without internet could receive our programs and feed pirate radio stations. As our contract with our satellite provider is coming up for another 3-year renewal, I have to consider calling it quits. It's rare that we get feedback or support from our satellite users. We started a fundraiser a few years ago, and though there are a bunch of great contributors to it, as of this recording, it covers 15% of our monthly satellite costs. Please email lrn@lrn.fm and tell me how you use the satellite feed. Better yet, chip in at fund.lrn.fm. The costs aren't the issue. We can afford them, but why continue something not valued by the market? Want to help? You can join our satellite fundraiser for just $2 a month at fund.lrn.fm. If we raise enough to keep both channels on the air, awesome. If we raise more, I'll add more channels. If not, we can shut them down and go internet only. It's up to you. Thank you for your support. Fund.lrn.fm.
This is the Liberty Radio Network, broadcasting the latest liberty-oriented audio content 24 hours a day at LRN.fm.
Welcome back, listeners. Welcome back, hosts. This is Free Talk Live. 855-450-3733 is our toll-free telephone number if you would like to join in on the conversation and get your views heard on the air. In the studio tonight, it is myself, the Lord Reverend Captain Kickass.
Yeah, it's Ian.
And it's Pope Indigent of the Church of the Invisible Hand. I'm sorry, that was easy
What were
for
you
me
about
to
to
say. I don't know what I was about to say. I was about to say the wrong thing because what I said was the right thing, but I had to think about it.
Our listeners may know from, having heard me on this show talk about the phenomena known as portmanteau. This is where you take one word and another word and you combine it together to make a new word that everybody immediately understands. Well, we were talking about the etymology of nerd, geek, dork, dweeb, etc., those types of words. Mm-hmm. And during the break, nobody had asked Ian, what's the etymology of etymology? And I said, that's metamology. And so there,
I like it.
There is your portmanteau for the day, metamology. Somebody write that down because I'll forget.
In reality, it actually comes from eta, to eat in Latin, and ology, which, although we use it to mean the study of, actually means hard work in Latin. So combined, you get etymology because the explanations given by etymologists are so hard to swallow.
We're going to do more etymology in just a second, but I've been studying something, and that's Bitcoin. And guess who helped me do that? Local.bitcoin.com. They've launched a trading platform allowing you to buy or sell Bitcoin Cash via dozens of payment methods like PayPal, Venmo, bank deposit, remittances, or meeting in person with cash. There are no ID requirements to sign up for and use the site, and all communications between buyers and sellers are encrypted. Finally, a global trading platform that respects your privacy. Visit local.bitcoin.com to get started trading Bitcoin Cash. That's local.bitcoin.com.
And if you find Pope Nobody on that platform, you'll be trading with me.
Are you on there still?
I'm on there again.
Cool. Good.
Awesome. So, Ian, we were talking about the etymology of these words, and you had one more for us.
Yeah, just to recap, though, on the definitions of dork, nerd, and geek, they say at dictionary.com, dork is a silly, out-of-touch person who tends to look odd or behave ridiculously around others.
Guilty.
While a nerd is socially awkward and an intelligent but single-minded person obsessed with a non-social hobby or pursuit.
Also guilty.
And geek, a digital technology expert or enthusiast, and a person who has excessive enthusiasm for and some expertise about a specialized subject or activity. So
it was me. I did it all.
We gave you some of the background on dork and nerd already. They do say here that the very final paragraph of their explanation about nerd, they say a caveat, though. A quick search of a database on contemporary English shows that the people who use the term nerd these days are often retaining more of its academic focus, like a math nerd, language nerd, meteorologist nerd, chemistry nerd, statistics nerd, or a bibliophilic nerd. Geek, on the other hand...
Bibliophilic, there's a word known only to language nerds.
That's right. Geek often branches out into more social sciences, like movie geek, space geek, music geek, guitar geek, band geek, suburban lawn geek, etc.
Hey, I represent some of those remarks.
Yeah, well, it's the things that you geek out on that make you a geek.
And finally, that brings us to geek. The etymology there says it's found as early as the 1870s, originally mocking of a foolish or worthless person. It might be a variant of geck, a word for fool, simpleton, or dupe, recorded in the 1500s. This geck, in turn, could come from a Germanic root meaning to croak, which is geek, geck, croak. We can sort of hear it, can you? In the early 1900s, a geek was a circus performer who horrified audiences with freaky things like butting off the heads of live animals, like chickens and
That's
snakes.
where Ozzy got it from.
Ozzy Osbourne.
William Lindsay Gresham's novel Nightmare Alley from 1946 about the darker side of showbiz may have helped popularize the term.
Or the dorker side.
Considering the bizarre acts performed by circus geeks, it might be no surprise that the word geek eventually came to describe general oddballs and eccentrics. How geek became smart is debated, but by the 1950s and 60s, a geek was an unlikable brainiac. Not for long, though. With the computer and tech revolution, geek boomed in popularity with its friend nerd. Unlike nerd, though, the word geek rooted itself more squarely with the technology-related fields. Thus, because technology is so important in the digital age, so are geeks, says dictionary.com. So,
Yay!
Yeah. Now you know.
Well, now that we've basically defined, well, everybody that participates in this show anyway.
Yes,
For sure.
it's true.
Probably a lot of our audience, too.
I hope so.
I made myself sad now.
And folks
Don't be a dweeb.
Folks who know that I'm into like the cryptocurrencies and stuff have approached me for advice, those who aren't into it or they want to get into it and that kind of thing. They go, how do you learn so much about that? And I'm like, you just got to be a nerd about it, right? You got to be a geek.
Yeah, geek out on it.
They seem to be pretty interchangeable these days, nerd and geek.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But let's circle back to this bit from military.com.
All right, more about killing.
We started talking about how...
That was a nice break from the killing. Let's get back.
Are there homicide geeks? Yeah. Is that a thing?
Ooh, I don't know.
I think so. Like, your blood spatter experts.
If you're a serial killer, are you just a murder geek?
I'm not sure about that.
Or a murder nerd? Right? Something like that? Interesting.
Yeah, Tony the Tiger got taken out by one of those this week.
He wasn't very great.
Wait, Tony the Tiger?
Yes,
Kellogg's
he got taken
character?
out by a serial killer.
Oh.
In the distance, a snap, crackle, and pop was heard.
Indeed. That was my brain short-circuiting.
Speaking of characters like that, you remember when they arrested McGruff, the crime dog?
No.
Yeah, that was a thing.
What did he do?
How did they arrest him?
It was whoever the actor was that was playing.
Did he get
McGruff.
drunk and put the suit on or something?
This is an old story from 2014. McGruff, the crime dog actor, jailed.
Isn't he the guy? Take a bite out of crime.
That's what I'm talking about.
Right.
Yeah, the guy in the dog suit.
Yep.
They arrested John Morales in 2011 in Galveston, Texas, after a drug-sniffing dog detected pot when he was pulled over for speeding. Police then found diagrams of 2 indoor pot growing operations and a plethora of marijuana seeds. When the police raided his house, they seized 1,000 marijuana plants and 9,000 rounds of ammunition for an assortment of 27 weapons, including a grenade launcher.
Wow, that'll take a bite out of crime.
So McGruff, the crime dog, was well armed, is what you're saying.
And he was growing marijuana.
I have no problem with
It's
any
amazing.
of this. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, he's within his rights to do all of these things. He still has not committed a crime,
It's
as
just,
far as I can tell.
He was.
I mean, it was
working for the
criminally
government.
stupid to actually carry a frigging diagram of his grow-op with him in the car, because who needs that?
So he was sentenced to 16 years in prison after pleading guilty to those
That's
charges.
criminal.
Yeah.
Wait, so he didn't violate anybody's rights?
Nope.
He didn't cause a harm to a person or property, and yet still was arrested.
District Judge Vanessa Gilmore told him at sentencing, quote, "Everything I read about you makes you seem like a scary person."
Wow,
Unquote.
she was very gruff about it. I got the captain.
Oh my lord! Wait, I don't know how that works.
Bite out of
If
crime.
Can I use Lord on myself somehow when I'm speaking? That seems odd.
Speaking of yourself in the third person, you mean?
Yeah, the Lord does not approve.
Mm.
The Lord finds your humor to be bush league
I'm now the
Go work
only
in
host.
mysterious ways,
and
you.
campy.
I'm now the only host on the show who doesn't speak of himself in the third person. That's a little unusual.
The captain
Really?
thinks you may have done that before.
Now,
The captain thinks there's at least one time when Ian spoke of himself in the third person.
Is that right? Not tonight, though.
I mean, I'd have to go through all of the archives.
No, you wouldn't.
Maybe we can get Riley to dig one up. He's the
Let's not
archivist.
say we did.
The archivist?
we don't need to know these things.
Yes. All right.
All right, more murdering. Is that what we're going to have to talk about?
Yeah, we're going to have to
Okay.
talk about more death and destruction from the organization known as government.
They're always so hatchety murdery.
The murderers you have to fund.
Yeah, you are forced to fund, and in fact, the more military equipment they get, the more they kill. And we'll talk more about that here on Free Talk Live, 855-450-3733.
What if you could cut your heating bills this winter with your existing wood-burning fireplace and not spend thousands doing it? You can with Great Wall of Fire fireplace grates. Our U.S. patented made-in-America Wall of Fire grates increase fireplace efficiency, eliminate fireplace smoke problems, and come with a 30-day money-back guarantee. See our grates in action and get free shipping from walloffire.com or call 800-274-7364. Fireplace heat without fireplace smoke. walloffire.com.
Attention business owners body slammed by overwhelming debt. If your business is in trouble, hassled by creditors, if you're frustrated, finally fed up with big business bailouts while your business has been left for dead, please listen close. There's a brand new fast-track bankruptcy. Some have even called it the biggest small business bailout in American history. Designed for individuals and their businesses. And look, almost no one knows about this yet. My attorney wasn't even aware of it. The truth is, beating the system has never been easy because it's rigged in a sense against the little guy. But here's the jaw-dropping news nobody's talking about. They've literally just changed the system so that you can beat it, but only if you understand how the new game has to be played. Find out if you qualify at pocketsoflight.com. This government-backed small business repair program is still legal, but may not be renewed after the election. Fight back fairly, fight back ethically at pocketsoflight.com.
Are you afraid to go to the mailbox because of letter after letter from the IRS? Are they stacking on more and more penalties and interest? By now, you know the problem won't go away on its own. Don't let the IRS chase you to your grave with penalties and interest and liens and levies. You need real help now. I'm Dan Pilla. I wrote the book on tax debt settlement, and I help thousands of people solve tax problems they thought couldn't be solved. I can help you too. Call 800-34-NO-TAX or go to my website, danpilla.com. That's danpilla.com. danpilla.com.
So the protection of life, liberty, and property is what the Free State Project is all about. But it's an effort to move 20,000 people who understand.
It's about demonstrating to the entire country
that, yeah, we can have a free market, a truly free market. Making it just a freer, great place to live.
It's the world's largest voluntarist libertarian community, and it's only getting bigger.
That's amazing, to be able to move to a place where other people passionately believe in being free and independent.
What the Free State Project is managing to do, though, is to put their money where their mouth is. Physically getting up across the country and saying, let's go someplace and let's demonstrate the power of these ideas. There's a lot of kind of philosophy that surrounds liberty. There's a lot of thinking about it and talking about it. But here in New Hampshire, people are doing it.
101 Reasons Liberty Lives in New Hampshire, a documentary by Free State Project Early Movers. Watch it free at 101reasonsfilm.com. 101reasonsfilm.com. If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
Is oral health important to you? If you don't like your own teeth, fresh breath, or kissing people, then by all means, stop listening. Several years ago, I met Jessica Armand, founder and CEO of My Magic Mud, and I became passionate about the product that she created and never want to live without it. It's clinically proven to whiten teeth, but I find it does much more. They want you to love My Magic Mud as much as I do, so they're giving you a money-back guarantee plus 20% off. Go to mymagicmud.com and use coupon code FTL20 at checkout. mymagicmud.com, FTL20.
You can sign up to receive the latest about the Liberty Radio Network via our email updates at updates.lrn.fm. That's updates.lrn.fm.
Welcome back to Free Talk Live, the live call-in radio talk program where you can take control of the airwaves. Our toll-free number here is 855-450-3733. That's 855-450-FREE, as in freedom. In the studio tonight, it's myself, the captain.
It's Ian.
And nobody.
We've been talking about an article from military.com which says the more military equipment police receive, the more people die. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in just a moment. But first, you've heard us talk about Divvy here on Free Talk Live, and maybe you've wanted to set up one of their easy-to-deploy masternodes or even stake Divvy so that you can begin earning Divvy right now. Ian says setting up a Divvy masternode was super easy, and staking was even easier. We're not investment advisors here on Free Talk Live, but we do think you will be impressed with your earning potential with Divvy as compared to traditional investment vehicles. Go to divvyproject.org and get started. You can buy Divvy at several exchanges or directly from the Divvy team. Need help? There's a link to their Telegram channel right on the front page at divvyproject.org. That's DIVI project.org. This article does go into great depth, and I'm not going to attempt to cover the full thing. One of the main points of this article that I wanted to make sure we got out was this. The results paint a troubling picture. The more equipment a department receives, the more people are shot and killed, even after accounting for violent crime, race, income, drug use, and population. So all of the things you might think might contribute to police killing people for various reasons that might be considered legitimate, when adjusted for that data, it still results in more people dying. This was largely conducted, this study that they're referring to, in the state of Georgia.
Well, it's okay. You can just reform the police, and then everything will change.
Yeah, have you ever noticed that governments are continually reforming things?
Yeah, they keep talking about reform, and they'll change one bureaucrat out and put a different bureaucrat in, and try to, they make people think that's going to do something, and it really doesn't change anything.
Well, I'm just particularly pointing out that when somebody says they need to reform a thing, that means they're admitting they got it wrong in the first place.
Well, of course, yeah,
right. But nobody ever says that. Nobody in the government anyway. Nobody ever goes, oh, well, we got this whole thing completely wrong. And instead of just abolishing whatever it was they did, they're like, no, we need to reform this.
Well, of course, they got to keep the scam
form
going.
It again.
Yes. Well, they couldn't possibly make the government smaller. So they have to keep increasing its size. And reform is an excuse to do that. Oh, well, this organizational structure didn't work. So let's try making it larger. Let's hire more people. That'll make things a lot better.
Yeah.
That'll make it so we can serve you better. And people buy that stuff.
Oh, yeah, they do.
You got served.
Definitely. Just some points from this article. The number of killings increases as 1033 funding increases. So 1033 is the piece of legislation that allows military to sort of kick down their surplus equipment to to police departments. At low levels of 1033 acquisition, even small increases in funding lead to increases in the expected number of killings. Increasing 1033 acquisitions at higher levels of funding has a smaller effect on expected numbers of killings, but the effect is still there. This suggests a link between police killings and even small levels of militarization. Increased concern over police-involved shootings across the nation has placed more focus on police militarization and the 1033 program. But I don't know about you. I haven't heard any reduction in it. They certainly don't talk about a reduction in it in this particular article.
I swear I'd heard something about that program being manipulated in some way to reduce its ability to distribute certain things, or I just don't remember what it was, so I apologize.
Yeah, I recall somebody maybe wanting that to be like part of their platform.
Or that some departments had rejected it.
Yeah, maybe somebody introduced some legislation that never passed or something along those lines. But police departments can't get everything from the military. For instance, tanks and large crew-operated guns are off limits. Ooh. As are actual military uniforms and body armor. Other items like assault rifles and night vision gear are considered long-term loans.
Really?
To local
so they can
agencies.
call it back.
Yeah. But officially remain federal government property. So that means that the police departments don't actually own the equipment, which I'm sure gets them out of some sort of obligation in some way, shape, or form. More than $7.4 billion. $7.4 billion in surplus equipment has been distributed since the program began in 1990. More 1033 investment makes violent areas more deadly. So if you have a specific area, maybe an inner city somewhere where there's a high crime rate or whatever, adding stuff from the military to the police department makes that area even more deadly. Because guess what? Now it's two gangs trying to
Let's throw some gas on the fire.
Yeah. The expected number of killings for a single department in a single year increases as the area policed by the department becomes more violent. So the more violent your police department is, the more violence you see in your neighborhoods.
Last week, this was written in September of this year. This is the Wall Street Journal. Virginia's state Senate passed a bill that prohibits state and local law enforcement agencies from acquiring military equipment like weaponized vehicles from the Defense Department. Connecticut approved limitations on the federal program earlier this summer, and Massachusetts State Senate voted in favor of some restrictions. Some cities, including Madison, Wisconsin, Columbus, Ohio, and Pittsburgh, have also passed or are considering their own limits on what equipment police can acquire. So there are some limitations going into place on some police departments in some states, but by no means, is this a sweeping set of things that are going across the country.
We'll, of course, throw a link to this article up on all of our social media stuff. It's a horrible idea in and of itself in the first place. Like, I get if government was responsible and, they had some budget shortcomings or something, that there might be some rational reason to, like, do a gear share program for something like that. You know what I mean? But none of that was the basis for perpetuating this. It had nothing to do with that. Everybody knows that the United States budget, the largest portion of all the money spent of the tax money that they take from you and me is military. All of it. I mean, it's a huge, like 75% of the budget, something like that. So,
I think it's military, and then corporate welfare is the second largest,
yes.
I believe.
Yes. And again, I keep saying this, and, I feel like, well, the police aren't hearing it, but if the police themselves are getting tired of their reputations being sullied and getting tired of being looked at as if they're criminals, as if they're gang members, as if they're violent people, well, they can do something about it because they're such a tightly knit group, right? All they have to do is stop prosecuting victimless crimes. Right? Stop arresting people. They themselves can take it upon themselves.
Yeah.
Can all get together as this tightly knit, thin blue line brotherhood they claim to be, and all go, okay, guys, guess what? We've got to really, shine up our reputation. Let's just, only focus on the violence.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Only focus on damage to property or people.
Yeah, of course, there's an easy way to do that, which is just start taking all of the liability settlements out of their pension fund. If you break it, you buy it.
Instead of their insurance policy?
Instead of their insurance policy, and instead of...
Yeah, but that's not how government works, nobody.
Well, that's how it should work.
Well,
is what I said. If it was how it already worked, then I would know that that had failed to solve the problem.
Yeah. We're currently stuck in the paradigm of the taxpayer always loses. Right. So if a police person, which is, funded by taxpayer money already, so the taxpayer has paid for the police person. If that person murders somebody else, well, congratulations, taxpayer. You have paid for somebody to murder somebody else. Now, if the family of the person who got murdered sues the police department who did the murdering and wins, then the money that they get awarded comes from not the police person, but from the taxpayer. So you lose no matter what. You feel like you might get a win because you've sued the police department and the court said, yep, you were correct. The policeman did murder. Here, have some money.
That's not a win. Your friend's still dead.
It's not a win. Your friend is still dead. Your friend is still dead, and the taxpayer has paid twice.
That's right.
Friends don't technically have standing to sue, I don't think. Only family members.
Well, thank you for that important designation.
It is important.
Anytime.
855-450-3733. Give us your calls and your thoughts. We've got more Free Talk Live for you coming up.
Remember when you first heard about Bitcoin? How long did it take you to realize this little project would soon change the world? Do you kind of wish you had gotten involved sooner? Well, now is your chance to be a part of the next revolution in money. Intercoin is working to finally make crypto go mainstream. It's designed to be scalable enough to support everyday payments and even elections without the state. Bitcoin was originally supposed to be a peer-to-peer cash system, the way we would all pay one another without having to trust any third party. But instead, over time, it mostly became a store of value. That's because every 10 minutes, the Bitcoin network must put all transactions into a block, and that block can only hold so much. If crypto is to become mainstream, for people to use it for everyday payments, we need a new architecture, one that is as secure as Bitcoin while being far more scalable. Check out intercoin.org to find out more and maybe pick up some of those coins for yourself.
There are basically two types of advertising, direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
The LRN.FM social media channels have been revamped. We've eliminated Facebook and focused on other platforms like Twitter and Mastodon, the decentralized alternative to Twitter. On our accounts, you'll find posts from multiple LRN.FM show hosts together in one place. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.lrn.fm, or better yet, move to the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm. I think you'll like it.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 2 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
Making her case. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. The first day of hearings for President Trump's pick for the Supreme Court, Amy Coney Barrett telling senators her job is to interpret the law.
Courts have a vital responsibility to the rule of law, which is critical to a free society. But courts are not designed to solve every problem or right every wrong in our public life.
Democrat Senator and Vice Presidential nominee Kamala Harris chastised her Republican colleagues for holding the hearings rather than passing another round of coronavirus aid.
The House bill would help families and small businesses get through this crisis. But Senate Republicans have not lifted a finger for 150 days, which is how long that bill has been here in the Senate. To move the bill.
Lawmakers begin questioning Judge Barrett tomorrow. Harris's running mate in the crucial state of Ohio today.
Former Vice President Joe Biden blasted President Trump's handling of the pandemic at a United Auto Workers event in Toledo, Ohio.
His reckless personal conduct since his diagnosis has been unconscionable. The longer Donald Trump is president, the more reckless he seems to get.
He accused the president of caring too much about Wall Street and said he saved car manufacturing as vice president during the Great Recession.
Over the many objections that we stepped in and rescued the automobile industry, General Motors and Chrysler, saving 1 million jobs.
Biden said Republicans have time to hold a hearing for a Supreme Court justice, but not COVID relief, because he says they want to end the Affordable Care Act. Jessica Rosenthal, Fox News.
Biden is now campaigning in Cincinnati. President Trump just took the stage in Florida after his doctor issued a statement reading the president has tested negative for COVID-19 for consecutive days. He's also headed to Iowa and Arizona this week for campaign rallies. America is listening to Fox News.
Adjusting to a new normal means we need to be smart about how we do business. Thousands of small business owners have discovered the benefits of Stamps.com and kept their businesses running while avoiding trips to the post office. With Stamps.com, you can print postage on demand and you'll never pay full price, with access to discounted rates you can't even get at the post office, like 5 cents off every stamp and up to 62% off USPS and UPS shipping rates. Don't waste time at the post office or UPS store. Print official stamps and labels right from your home or office computer for any letter, any package, anywhere you want to send. Once your mail's ready, just leave it for your mail carrier, schedule a free package pickup, or drop it off. It's a no-brainer. Right now, listeners get a special offer that includes a 4-week trial, plus free postage and a digital scale with no long-term commitment. Just go to Stamps.com, click on the microphone at the top of the homepage, and type in Fox. That's Stamps.com. Enter Fox. Stamps.com. Enter Fox.
Tens of thousands of dollars in fines issued in New York City for people who violate new COVID-19 restrictions.
This weekend was the first for new COVID-19 restrictions in some areas of New York City aimed at keeping a handle on virus spread. Authorities issued 62 summonses to people, businesses, and houses of worship. At least 5 of those houses of worship are in a red zone where infection rates of the coronavirus are the highest. New rising case numbers in pockets of Brooklyn and Queens prompted Governor Andrew Cuomo to announce the restrictions on large gatherings and non-essential businesses. The restrictions have brought protest and a lawsuit that was filed by an Orthodox Jewish group over synagogue capacity limits. In New York City, Tanya J. Powers, Fox News.
Facebook is banning posts that deny or distort the Holocaust. CEO Mark Zuckerberg announced the new policy today as the company continues to try to take action against misinformation ahead of the presidential election. After not being seen in public for weeks, North Korea's leader made
You can't win if you don't enter, and you actually can improve your chances of winning a prize drawing if you wrinkle up your entry blank. I'm Holland Cook from survivalspeech.com, and I speak from experience. Why this works: if they'll be spinning the drum before drawing, your entry blank will move around more than, and not adhere to, other perfectly flat entry blanks. And if they don't spin the drum and merely reach into a box full of other perfectly flat entry blanks, many of which are sticking together, yours will feel different to the person reaching in. When you win, act surprised. And if you're looking for work, this is a metaphor. For more tips on sticking out in a world where just too much blends into the blah, 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 hit survivalspeech.com. I'm Holland Cook.
Publicists everywhere agreed this week that the nation's celebrities are in dire need of more fame, stressing that all 6 billion of the world's populace should know every U.S. celebrity by name and face by now. Publicists are calling for an emergency influx of buzz, heat, press, and word of mouth to be administered to the nation's celebrities immediately in order to prevent crucial fame levels from becoming dangerously low. Novelist Edward Milligan told reporters this week that in his new book, By the Water's Edge, he has fleshed out in meticulous detail his own huge and stunningly shitty world. Using in-depth research and the power of his own imagination, Milligan was able to conjure out of thin air every hackneyed character, trite street name, and horseshit backstory in the fictional town of Connors Cove. The complete hack proudly said he has created a universe that readers will feel they can actually reach out and touch. Sources say the prolific writer has not yet been punched repeatedly in the face. In other news, McDonald's opens a new senior citizen play place.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. This Monday edition of Free Talk Live. 855-450-3733 is our toll-free number. That's 855-450-FREE, as in freedom. You can join us on air. And in the studio tonight, it's myself, the captain.
It's Ian.
And nobody.
And let's go straight away to your calls and your thoughts. We have the Christian Anarchist joining us on our Matrix server over at chat. What is it, Ian?
.lrn.fm.
Thank you. Gene, you're on the air.
Commies.
Where?
Anyway, they're all over the place. It seems to be that a lot of the younger generation want to grab that label.
Doesn't it always seem like that, though? I mean, that was true like a generation ago, wasn't it?
Well, sort of, I guess, yeah. But I had this long back and forth on Twitter from this guy. Actually, I responded to Gavin Newsom's idiotic post.
That's the California governor?
Yeah.
Which
idiotic
then, of course,
post? Can't tell you at the moment.
Okay.
But one of them, one of his many. And so we got into a long back and forth about communism.
With the governor of California?
No. This other person that was also responding there. But it got to be boiled down to, after pointing out all of the fallacies regarding communism and how nobody had ever made it work, and somehow
No,
this guy
I couldn't make it work either.
Yeah, so this guy thinks that he's able to make it work.
Oh, okay, just put him in charge.
Yeah, put him in charge. But I pointed out that, it's been tried for over 100 years. We've never been able to make it work.
Well,
It's
he's
not
going to
ever
bring
going
new
to work.
ideas to communism.
Yeah, that's
Well,
what
let's
they
send him
always
to
say, right?
China
It's
and
never been done right.
We can just deport him to China, and he can see if he can fix their system.
I put that in one of the responses, actually, but it's similar to that. But what it boiled down to is at the very end, what he was saying is that he wants to have a guarantee of a government that can guarantee health care and basic needs. And I pointed out to him that, first of all, it's never happened, and how that no one has a guarantee to anything in this world, and it's unreasonable to expect a guarantee. You're not, when we're born into this world, the only thing we have is liberty. We have, of course, first we've got to be raised by our parents, but then once you're kicked out of the nest and you're allowed to walk freely in this world, everyone has their rights. Now, I've explained rights as existing no matter where people are. So even if I go to China, I have all the same rights I have here, even though if I try to exercise them too freely there, somebody's going to come down on me with violence.
Right.
And so violation of rights is not the same as your rights not existing.
Well, and just for the listeners out there who might not be familiar, can we define communism in your context, Gene?
Well, I think the classic definition of communism is when you have a state system that takes control of the means of production and divvies out everyone according to their need. I mean, it sounds great. It sounds like heaven on earth, right? But it never works out that way. It always winds up that the people that you put in power are going to take more power, and they're going to use that power to oppress the people, to oppress the masses. It sounds great, but it never works.
Right, because when you give power away to groups of people, to expect that to be used for the benefit of the people that this power was taken away from, to me, is pretty ridiculous.
It's really a lazy philosophy because you're expecting that because I believe in communism, that those people over there are going to somehow provide for my means. That's really basic laziness.
Yep.
Instead of wanting to say, well, I just want everybody to leave me alone and let me provide for my own means. Don't take my stuff. Don't hinder me when I want to move forward, when I want to make progress. But of course, all governments everywhere do exactly that. They hinder progress and they take your stuff. So
you don't want to pay your fair share of murdering the Iraqis?
Oh, no, I definitely want to pay my fair share. My fair share is zero.
Yep.
That's my fair share.
Indeed.
That sounds fair to me.
Why do you think we continue to see these, I don't know, what these waves of communists supporting people, espouse these ideas? Why do you suppose it keeps coming up?
Well, I know the reason that it's currently getting so popular, and that's because of the education system, especially the higher education system. These kids are being brainwashed into thinking that somehow this ideal situation where all your needs will be met is going to happen in their generation. And they keep telling every generation that, that it's going to happen.
Well, I mean, Biden's on the campaign trail promising to waive all college debt. So, I mean, that definitely to somebody who is over their head by $100,000 or $50,000 or $200,000 or whatever it is that they're into for college, that's an attractive promise, right? So, you can't blame people who don't know any better. They're young, right? They have no real significant life experience. You can't blame folks for wanting a free ride. I mean, if somebody's out there promising it, some people are going to fall for that. They don't know any better.
And, something, I did go to public schools when I was young, but at least back in those days, we had something in some of our classes called critical thought. And we were taught critical thought.
Really?
And we were taught to question things. We were taught to,
in
come
public
up,
school?
come up in the front and have a little debate about the pros and cons, even of racism.
You were only supposed to question
racism
certain things. You weren't supposed to question the principle. You weren't supposed to question so-called authority, the police, or anything like that. But yeah, you're right. They would teach so-called critical thinking, but with limits.
I think.
Of course, I grew up in the '60s, and we did question authority quite a bit, even in the in the schools.
I think there's another cause that we don't talk about, which is there's a big lie that gets passed off on Americans, and it's been passed off on Americans for generations, that the system we have now is a thing called capitalism. And I can't blame somebody growing up in today's world for people for saying, okay, well, if there's two things and the system we have is one of these things, then I want the other one. Okay, I can see how that would be. And it's a lot of that, I think, is because we have chosen to fight against communism by communist means. Okay, for example, they wanted to prove that capitalism was the freer of the systems during Vietnam by enslaving people and making them go to kill people in Vietnam. And of course, that is an illustration of the opposite of capitalism. Right. But they called it capitalism, so I can see why people would think it must have been that.
Well, Gene, I came up in the sort of the Cold War era, right? Going to school in the early '80s, and it was better dead than red, and all that kind of stuff was a common retort from news agencies and even teachers and that kind of a thing. But looking back upon all of that now, I just say to myself, the former communist Soviet Union would be very much jealous of all of the control and oversight that is currently happening here in the United States. Like, there's more communism going on here than there was there back in the mid-'80s.
Well, there's long been a plot for that.
More socialism anyway, but not necessarily communism.
Well, the communists have gotten into certain roles, right? Like they've gotten into political office, they've gotten into administrative roles in governments and schools and things like that. And so there should be no surprise that they've managed to inculcate people.
Yep, there's some of them out there, that's for sure.
All right, well, thanks for the call tonight, Gene. We do appreciate it. Our toll-free number here is 855-450-3733. You can join us on the air. We've got plenty more to talk about. Do you think the United States is more socialist or communist now than it was a couple of decades ago? We've got more coming up. Free Talk Live.
Divvy's been a pretty good investment for Free Talk Live. Their ad campaign started in September 2019, and from mid-March to mid-July, the values soared by 10 times. It's not too late. Divvy's new wallet hasn't even released yet, and other things are happening that I can't even say on the radio. If you want to invest and potentially do well, go to DivvyProject.org. I can tell you that FT with the guys from DivvyProject.org. Past performance is not an indication of future profit. DivvyProject.org. DIVI Project.org.
News from news.bitcoin.com. Economist claims that value of U.S. dollar will descend by 35% in the next year, and the dollar is the most overrated major currency in the world today. U.S. Federal Reserve is actively working on turning the U.S. dollar into a digital currency. Bitcoin set a new record for time above $10,000 in value. Bitcoin.com is your source for getting started with cryptocurrencies, getting a wallet, buying Bitcoin Cash, mining, and all the latest cryptocurrency news at news.bitcoin.com.
Join liberty-minded voluntarists, anarchists, and libertarians from June 28th through July 4th for ForkFest 2021 at Rogers Campground in the beautiful White Mountains of New Hampshire. ForkFest happens the week after the Porcupine Freedom Festival, and ForkFest is decentralized, which means no one is in charge. That also means there's no ticket cost. Just reserve your camping, RV site, or motel room with Rogers Campground for June 28th through July 4th. Where better to celebrate Independence Day than around other freedom-loving activists in the Shire? You can relax and enjoy the camaraderie of like-minded people, or you can create whatever experience or event you'd like others to have. If you're planning an event for ForkFest, be sure to let others know in advance. You can connect with fellow ForkFesters via the unofficial Telegram chat or the ForkFest forum. Links to those are on the unofficial website, forkfest.party. Mark your calendar for June 28th through July 4th, 2021. We'll see you at forkfest.party.
Free Talk Live.
Most people think you have to seek out a God for finding meaning in life, but really meaning comes from your awareness that your next move will have a consequence to you, whether good or bad.
The meaning is created by the person having the experience.
It's inside
experiencer.
Your awareness that your next move will have a consequence for your positive or negative view of the world. That's where all meaning comes from.
And I fully believe that it's your interpretation of your experiences, how you decide to act as a result of the circumstances that surround you, that will ultimately decide your fate here. As far as, will you have a pleasant experience or will it be a hellacious one? I believe that
I believe in heaven and hell, but I believe that they exist every moment. Like you get to choose heaven and hell, and the people that do bad things experience hell because doing bad things results in bad stuff.
But you can always choose otherwise. You can begin at any moment to start over again.
Sinners can be redeemed.
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in Liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealEstate.com.
What's up next? Visit the Liberty Radio Network program guide to find out at shows.lrn.fm. That's shows.lrn.fm.
Boom! There should just be like a really big explosion right there, right where the snare kicks in, the music gets all loud. Boom! I think that'd be cool. It would. Anyway, Free Talk Live. Welcome back, everybody. 855-450-3733 is our toll-free number if you'd like to join us on air. You can talk about anything you want, anything at all. We've been talking about many things tonight, and we'll continue to do so. In the studio tonight, it's myself, Ian, and nobody. And we'll get to more Free Talk Live in just a moment. But first...
It almost sounded like myself, Ian, meaning that you are Ian, and you're with nobody.
I am... Let me speak in third person. The Lord Reverend Captain Kickass is here, as well as Ian and nobody.
That's right.
In addition to himself.
Well, he'll be back in just a moment.
Nobody will be back.
Yeah.
But we're already
Nobody
still
will
here.
Return.
Nobody will return, but we're already still here.
That's right. Last time I checked.
If that's confusing, that's okay. This won't be. Intercoin's team has spent the last decade helping
yes, it will,
communities release apps to unite their members and coordinate social activity. Now communities can release currencies to coordinate economic activity. They represent a soft but voluntary power, encouraging people to spend the currency on local goods and services that accept it, or to support the community with small fees when cashing out unused coins. Towns already do this to battle globalism, and festivals can create an extended online community that transacts on their own year-round. Intercoin is attempting to regain some of our freedoms that are threatened on the internet and in meat space. We think that's important here on Free Talk Live, so important that Free Talk Live accepted $40,000 worth of Intercoin tokens from Intercoin Inc. in exchange for advertising. If you think freedom is important too, check out Intercoin at intercoin.org. You can invest in this project and potentially make big gains, or just be involved and perhaps shape its future. That's intercoin.org. Shifting gears from our previous topics, I want to talk a little bit about this from thefederalist.com, an article that says the CDC study finds overwhelming majority of people getting coronavirus wore masks.
How about that?
Isn't that special?
Wear mask, get Rona. Weird.
Well, that's not clear from what you've said so far. The question is the percentage of people who get the disease and wear masks greater than the percentage of the general population which wears masks?
Okay, well, let's see if this article drills down on that. A Center for Disease Control report released in September shows that masks and face coverings are not effective in preventing the spread of COVID-19, even for those people who consistently wear them. A study conducted in the United States in July found that when they compare 154 case patients who tested positive for COVID-19 to a control group of 160 participants from the same healthcare facility who were symptomatic but tested negative, over 70% of the case patients were contaminated with the virus and fell ill despite, quote, always, unquote, wearing a mask. In the 14 days before illness onset, 71% of case patients and 74% of control participants reported always using cloth face coverings or other mask types when in public, the report stated.
Wow.
In addition, over 14% of the case patients said they often wore a face covering and were still infected with the virus. The study also demonstrates that under 4% of these case patients became sick with the virus even though they never wore a mask or face covering. Does that answer your question, nobody?
He wasn't paying attention.
Not quite.
Okay.
Not quite. I'll have to do the math myself.
All right. Despite over 70% of the case patient participants' efforts to follow CDC recommendations by committing to always wearing face coverings at gatherings with 10 persons, less than 10 person, or greater than 10 in a home, shopping, dining at a restaurant, going to an office setting, salon, gym, bar, coffee shop, etc., and so on, they still contracted the virus.
Well, they'll still argue, I'm sure, that their odds were lower. Well, so, yeah, they still got coronavirus, but if they had not worn the mask, then more people would have gotten coronavirus.
And that's actually the question I want to ask with answer with the calculation I want to do.
While the study notes that some of these people may have contracted the virus from the few moments that they removed their mask to, say, eat or drink at places that offer on-site eating or drinking, the CDC concedes that there is no successful way to evaluate if that was the exact moment someone became exposed and contracted the virus.
So that's one of the reasons why the California governor, who was mentioned earlier, has an official statement from his office saying they want people to put masks on while they're between bites.
Between bites, that's right. Take a bite, put the mask on.
I thought I was seeing that last night here in Keene, which we're not in California. We're in, but it might as well be the California of New Hampshire.
You saw somebody putting mask on between bites?
I thought I saw it. What I saw was two people who were already done eating had put their masks back on in order to converse with one another at the dinner table. This was at Fucking Great here in Keene. They were the outside table when I was arriving.
Yeah.
There was still a couple people that were eating, but the two of the folks who were not eating anymore had finished their meals and were back to masked up.
Yeah, if you are in the Keene area ever, please stop into Fucking Great for some pho. That's pretty keen and also great.
Yeah, it really is.
Characterization of community exposures can be difficult to assess when widespread transmission is occurring, especially from asymptomatic persons within inherently interconnected communities, the report states. In fact, the report suggests that direction, ventilation, and intensity of airflow might affect virus transmission, even if social distancing measures and mask use are implemented according to current guidance. Despite this new scientific information, the CDC, Director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, Dr. Anthony Fauci, and many political authorities are still encouraging people to wear masks.
Oh, they're doing more than encouraging. They are threatening. New York City issued over $150,000 in fines in just the first weekend of their new crackdown.
Wow.
Yep, 62 fines. So you do the math on that.
What did they say about government? Never let a good crisis go to waste?
Yeah.
Actually, I'll do the math for you. That's an average of $2,400 per fine. And it was fines up to $15,000. So they could hit a restaurant, for instance, with maximum $15,000 fine for a violation.
So are they fining the individuals, or fining the establishments, or both?
All of the above.
Oh, jeez. Wow. Not good. Not good. When is New York going to have had enough? You know, as horrible as that city is, with all the over legislation and all of the thieving and the cronies that are in positions of power there, when is that particular area going to have had enough?
Well, somebody had enough. We were at dinner last night at the restaurant you were talking about. A guy had escaped from New York, from the Bronx specifically, and moved to New Hampshire.
Quite literally. 855 450 free. More Free Talk Live coming up.
Moose is the German Shepherd, now 11, and he's been an amazing dog. Moose is so active and so alert and hasn't had any kind of health problems at all. He has a beautiful coat, and at 11, he'll still run and chase the ball. He has been on Dynavite since he's a puppy.
Dynavite for life.
Because if they're getting all their vitamins, micronutrients, microbials from the beginning, then you're not going to run into the problem associated with the grass, pollen, dust, dirt, fleas, ticks, you name it, and the itching and shedding down the road. DINOVITE.com. We tell anybody that has a dog, if there was something that you could do right from the beginning so that you don't have expensive veterinary bills, why would you not do it? Get the Dynavite.
You won't believe how happy your dog will be.
I get my Dynavite from DINOVITE.com.
Is spreading the message of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace around the globe worth $2 per month to you? As you may already know, in addition to our internet feed, LRN.FM broadcasts on free-to-air satellite across North and Central America, as well as Sub-Saharan Africa. And we've been available on satellite for free 24/7 since 2010. The LRN.FM free-to-air satellite signal is reaching some of the most oppressive regimes in the world, and there's no doubt our ideas are making an impact. You can learn more about the channel's impact by watching the 3-minute video at fund.lrn.fm. If you'd like to help free minds globally with our ideas of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace, you can donate as little as $2 per month via fund.lrn.fm. You can help us continue and expand our satellite broadcast to multiple continents. Visit fund.lrn.fm today, and thank you for your help. Don't forget to share the link on social media. That's fund.lrn.fm.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at Bitcoin.com. That's Bitcoin.com.
What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
I've been told no in many different ways.
I give you an order and you're going to obey it.
George, you can go this way.
You can't do that and you have to leave here.
You cannot bring signs into their rally.
Walk with me. Well, I'm comfortable here, actually. Whoa, Hey, who do you think you are? Excuse me.
There is no video and audio allowed in this office.
No, I have work today.
You ain't going to make it.
Wait a minute. Hey! Oh my God! Unbelievable! Why are you running from me? Because you scared me. What am I being detained for?
You're being served.
What is this?
You're being served.
What is this?
If you're
Democrats have a funny way of telling people no.
That's the sound of the men working on the chain.
Derek J's Victimless Crime Spree. Watch it for free and order the Director's Cut DVD at victimlesscrimespree.com.
Live video of our key New Hampshire-based shows is streamed on DLive. Please follow and share at dlive.lrn.fm. That's dlive.lrn.fm.
Come on.
ShamWow?
ShamWow. Yeah. You're going to love my nuts. 855-450-3733 is our toll-free number. This is Free Talk Live, the live call-in radio talk program that's also streamed on the internet, if you didn't know, where you can take control of the airwaves and talk about anything you want. You can pretend that you're Vincent from the ShamWow commercial, or you can just listen to people like myself, the captain.
And Ian.
And nobody.
And we're going to segue into, now that the CDC study finds that the overwhelming majority of people getting coronavirus wore masks, and has clearly stated in this report that masks don't really work to prevent the spread of COVID-19. We're going to talk about another organization that has flipped its stance, and we'll get to that in just a minute. But first, do you have a WordPress website running WooCommerce and you want to accept cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin Dash, Bitcoin Cash, and Bitcoin SV? Because now you can easily enable crypto payments from your customers by adding the AnyPay plugin to your WordPress site. It only takes a moment. Just visit anypayinc.com, set up your account by entering your crypto wallet addresses in the admin panel, then enable AnyPay plugin in your WooCommerce, and that's it. Now your website takes cryptocurrency thanks to anypayinc.com. That's anypayinc.com. Love the work those guys are doing over there.
Wasn't the nuts line from Slap Chop?
Oh, it was from Slap Chop. It wasn't from ShamWow, but it was the same guy.
Same guy.
Yeah, it was the same guy. You're right. Yeah. Good memory.
I've never seen the actual commercial, but there was like a Slap Chop remix on the internet, which was hilarious.
Yeah, no, I've seen the actual commercials. There were a couple of different versions of them. One of them was my favorite, but yeah, it was super hilarious. At any rate, this from news.com.au. So we're going down under for our news. Is that Australian or English? I can't tell. I get them confused.
Hey.
Crikey, that's not a knife. There we go.
That's a knife.
Oh, it's a knife.
Okay, the headline, coronavirus. WHO, that's the World Health Organization, not the rock band.
Who?
Right, or doctor. The WHO backflips on virus stance by condemning lockdowns.
Remember going on here?
Remember the WHO was like, we need to lock everything down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We need to shut everything down. We need to crush the economy. We need to ruin small businesses.
Well, they did, and now they're feeling sorry? What is precipitating this?
Well, let's see. The World Health Organization has backflipped on its original COVID-19 stance after calling for world leaders to stop locking down their countries and economies. Dr. David Nabarro from the WHO appealed to world leaders yesterday, telling them to stop using lockdowns as your primary control method of the coronavirus. He also claimed that the only thing lockdowns achieved was poverty.
Wow, exactly as we predicted. They should replace the WHO with
us.
Free Talk Live. The two medical issues that they couldn't get right, we just did. Without even knowing.
I just want to read this sentence in its entirety. He also claimed that the only thing lockdowns achieved was poverty, with no mention of the potential lives saved.
You know what's common with poverty? Shorter lifespans.
Yeah.
Death.
Mm-hmm. Very common.
Yeah. And of course, the reason I think they didn't mention lives saved is, for example, the study that we did that we went over on Friday from that came from the Telegraph.uk, where they found that more people died as a result of the lockdowns than would have died if there hadn't been any lockdown. So if it saves just one life, idiots, it didn't save a life. No. It cost lives. It cost tens or possibly hundreds of thousands of lives.
And those numbers are still climbing.
Yeah, it continues to do so because none of this BS has been lifted in its entirety. Some areas are more locked down or more masked up than others, depending on the region that you live in, but everybody has been affected to some degree. This guy, David Nabarro, goes on to say things that, well, I think we've been saying here on Free Talk Live since, February. Lockdowns have just one consequence that you must never, ever belittle, and that is making poor people an awful lot poorer, he said.
Yeah, but look at how much money it made for Bezos. He made a fortune.
Oh yeah, there was
all the billionaires are much richer than they were.
As happens repeatedly in the United States, whenever government decides to take advantage of either an actual crisis or a manufactured one, whatever it is, it's when they get the people reeling in fear, they implement more, we'll call them draconian measures, to do a money grab. How much did the Federal Reserve inject into the economy?
Trillions. More to come, too.
Trillions. $3 trillion so far.
Yeah, they're still cooking up another package of more trillions to go, of course, to their corporate benefactors, and then they'll cut a little check to the little people.
This is my favorite sentence. We in the World Health Organization do not advocate lockdowns as the primary means of control of this virus.
Oh, so they're okay with them being the secondary means.
Because, making people poor while they're sick is helpful if it's not the main thing you do.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Was it not the World Health Organization that recommended the lockdowns?
I presume they did. I don't really pay attention to who recommends the tyranny.
Who?
Yeah.
He continues, the only time we believe a lockdown is justified is to buy you time to reorganize, regroup, rebalance your resources, protect your health workers who are exhausted, but by and large, we'd rather not do it.
But they're okay with it in those circumstances, and so, whatever, they'll keep doing it. And it doesn't matter anyway, because they can only really make recommendations. Governments are going to do what they're going to do.
That's true. And it's already done at this point. So,
it's continuing to be done in New York City. They're cracking down again. Certain areas, as we reported last week, of New York City, the Bronx and Queens, for instance, certain entire zip codes are considered red zones, and now businesses are no longer allowed to open, the so-called non-essential businesses, which, of course, we all think that all businesses are essential to the people that own them and the employees there. But those so-called non-essential businesses are being forced to close. Restaurants are being forced to not allow dining indoor or outdoor, only takeout, and various other restrictions, and the draconian fines that are coming into play as well.
Yeah, I don't have it here tonight for show prep, but I did read an article from the Seattle area talking about something like in the teens, like 15 or 16 more restaurants that have been around, that have been, for 30 years or so,
favorites,
are closing,
established
favorites are closing permanently.
It's so sad.
So more to come.
Oh yeah,
more to come.
Well, yeah, because there's a lot of businesses that are they're running on fumes.
Yeah,
they've managed to keep their head above the water just barely. Some of them utilizing the government handouts that came out earlier this year
that they have to pay back.
Well, if they spent the loans in the so-called approved measures, like by I think it's like 80% or 70% or something, had to be spent.
Oh, but
on
look,
staffing.
you didn't check the right box, or you didn't dot the I or cross the T properly.
The thing is, if you're in well with the politicians, you'll have no problem convincing them that you did the right stuff with them. It's the people who aren't connected who will suffer from that, and who cares about them anyway?
Well, apparently the World Health Organization is one of the most inconsistent organizations I can remember in recent memory.
Sick bastards.
Yep. 855-450-3733 is our toll-free number if you'd like to join the discussion. We'll talk more about this and many other things coming up.
Are you ready for what's next? It's likely coming. More food shortages, power outages, grocery stores closed, social unrest. Ask yourself, do you have enough food and supplies on hand to last at least 30 days? Most Americans do not, but you can. Avoid the panic of the last-minute rush. Order your 4-week supply of emergency food today from MyPatriotSupply.com. Starvation or dependency on the government are your only alternatives. Avoid those and the pain of being unprepared. Go to MyPatriotSupply.com right now. Build your emergency food supply with meals that last up to 25 years in storage, shipped discreetly to your door. Folks that know what's coming are using today to prepare. There's time for you to do the same. That's MyPatriotSupply.com, the original Patriot Preparedness Company. MyPatriotSupply.com.
There's nothing worse than thinking that your Medicare benefits are going to cover routine medical expenses like vision, dental, and prescription benefits, only to find that when an emergency arises, your Medicare plan is full of gaps that don't even begin to cover your medical emergency. How would it feel to have to go into debt because your Medicare program didn't cover everything 100%? Studies show that 95% of Medicare recipients pay more than $5,000 per year on out-of-pocket medical expenses. At SnapMedicare.com, we understand how important it is for you to be prepared for any type of medical emergency. All it takes is a quick phone call to 800-286-5516 to find out exactly where you stand with your Medicare coverage and to save thousands on future costs. Call 800-286-5516 to make sure your Medicare plan includes provisions to cover any gap in coverage. Whether you have questions about Part A or Part B Medicare coverage, remember, call 800-286-5516. SnapMedicare.com. Call 800-286-5516.
On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
Your amp will directly change more lives by getting Free Talk Live in front of people looking for talk radio online and on the air. When you amp Free Talk Live, you get perks like access to the AMP-only Facebook group and AMP podcast. Visit amp.freetalklive.com. Some of you asked, and now we've delivered. LRN.FM's live Keene, New Hampshire studio shows are now streamed in HD on Twitch. Visit our channel at twitch.lrn.fm and give it a follow. If you have Amazon Prime, you get one free subscription on Twitch. If you use it on our channel, Twitch will give LRN.FM a monthly piece of your Prime subscription cost. So please watch, follow, share, and subscribe to twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm. So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com.
You're listening to the best liberty-oriented audio streamed around the clock, on the air, and online. This is the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. It is Free Talk Live, the live call-in radio talk show program where you can take control of the airwaves and talk about anything you'd like to. Our toll-free number for that purpose is 855-450-3733. That's 855-450-FREE, as in freedom. Joining you in the studio tonight, it's myself, the Lord.
It's Ian.
And nobody.
I'm getting so much play out of that. It's awesome.
Oh, Lord, it's hard to be humble.
No, it's pretty easy, actually.
Well, maybe for you, but when you're perfect in every way, it's not.
Nobody's perfect.
We've been talking...
Exactly.
Nobody is perfect. That's, how much more of a perfect sentence could there be? We've been talking about this article from news.com.au. A representative of the World Health Organization, Dr. David Nabarro, has said the only thing lockdowns achieve is poverty. And he goes on to recommend or not recommend lockdowns.
Well, he qualified it. He said that there are certain circumstances under which they would allow they would recommend a lockdown, but he generally recommends against it. But either way, he did admit that does create poverty. And that, of course, will ruin people's lives, which will lead to suicide and death from, malnutrition or whatever other problems.
Dr. Nabarro's
drug addiction.
And all of these things, even the thing that we saw last week that said that the lockdowns had cost more lives than they had saved, that was just from the disease.
Yeah.
It didn't count the suicides.
Right.
It didn't count the drug overdoses. It didn't count any of that stuff. Yeah. The 12,000 people that are expected to starve to death, literally, in third world countries as a result of the slowdowns of first world countries.
Not to mention the economic impact, which is one of Dr. Nabarro's main criticisms. It says here his main criticisms involved the global impact, explaining how poorer economies had been indirectly affected. Just look at what happened to the tourism industry, particularly in the Caribbean, for example, or in the Pacific, because people aren't taking their holidays, he said.
Yeah.
Look what happened to smallholder farms all over the world. Look at what's happening to the poverty levels. It seems that we may well have a doubling of world poverty by next year.
Oh, isn't that special? Good job, everybody.
We
government.
may well have at least a doubling of child malnutrition.
Yeah, and that's an important point, is that we haven't really seen the full effects of this yet. It's still early as far as the economic fallout is concerned. A lot of businesses, as I mentioned, they're still just kind of skating by, maybe barely keeping their heads above water. Look at, for instance, the airline industry, which received a large bailout package here in the United States. I suspect similar things were done in other countries, but the federal government and the Republicans and Democrats agreed that they were going to print a bunch of money, which of course takes value from those of us who have savings and transfers that value to the recipients of that money. In this case, mega corporations like American Airlines, United, JetBlue, you fill in the blank, whichever airline. And then that money just ran out like 2 weeks ago or a week or so ago. So a lot of those airline employees who had been continuing to receiving paychecks because of this bailout money, that's now over, and they are now being laid off or furloughed. They're being told, I'm sorry, you can't work now. We don't have any money. And now the airlines are going back to the government and begging for more money. And it's not just the airlines. Best Western CEO David Kong is saying that it is a unsustainable situation, quote, really bad. According to the American Hotel and Lodging Association, some 38,000 of the United States' 57,000 hotels will close within 6 months without further government assistance. So it sounds like they've already been getting some government
Son of a biscuit.
money. Yeah, that's a lot. That's more than way more than half of the hotels in the U.S.
This guy, David Kong, can we make him a king somewhere? So he could be King Kong?
He is Asian looking, if that matters. But do you want to hear more about this?
Yeah, actually I do, because that's pretty staggering data.
Yeah, it is. Travel, tourism, and hospitality has been at the center of the COVID-19 crunch, hammered by the pandemic, as though the pandemic hammered anybody.
It's not the pandemic's fault. It's government's fault. Government imposed all of these things by force.
Every news story has to include a reference to why it's the pandemic that's at fault here, why all of these things are caused by the pandemic, even though if you just let it go, a few people would have gotten sick, a few of them would have died, and then we'd have been fine, and all the businesses would have kept running at full capacity, and everything would have been just fine.
It's a pet peeve of mine for things not to be called what they are.
Yep.
Right? I have this problem with sometimes definitions of words.
Or to be called things that they aren't.
Or to be, yeah, right. So when they say, oh, it's because of the pandemic, oh, it's because of coronavirus. No, it's not. It's because of the government's overreaction and power grab and greedy nature that we are in this position.
And I will add to that, people's obedience. Because
of course. Yeah,
if
absolutely.
the government goons had said, jump, and people didn't jump, then we'd still be fine. If the government goons had said, close your businesses, and people said no, then we would have been fine. But no, everybody thinks the government's got their best interests in mind, and I don't know what it's going to take for them to learn that that's not true. Millions of workers continue to be unemployed, while hotel and motel owners scramble to keep their businesses open. Owners are now acting as desk clerks and cleaning crews, while millions of workers remain sidelined with an uncertain future. It's true, not just in the hotels and motel business, but the very restaurant that we were at last night. The owner is washing dishes.
Yes, true.
Okay, so this is happening.
The owner
everywhere.
was bussing the tables.
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah. She's got one server. She's there, and she's got two guys back in the kitchen. I think she brought a third person into the kitchen because she knew we had a big group the previous week, so she brought in an extra person. But she's running on a skeleton crew, and this is after two of her other businesses have already closed.
Yeah.
Two of her other restaurants going on. So Kong, that's the CEO at Best Western, doesn't know how much longer those struggling to keep things going can continue. He said, quote, "It's really hard to say when a recovery is going to be. The situation we're in now, it's not sustainable. It's really bad," he told CNBC in a phone interview, saying further, as people use up all their savings and reserves, they're going to default on their loans. And then what?
Well, and the answer to that is it harms the shareholders, but the then what is the companies go bankrupt. The hotels, which continue to exist, are sold to new owners, and the new owners reopen them. So, and I'm not saying that this to trivialize this, because it means that people are going to be out of work for quite a while.
In the meanwhile, yeah.
But what it does mean is we don't have to bail these people out again.
That's just making the problem worse.
The economy work.
Every time you bail these people out, it kicks the can down the road. It makes it so they don't have to close their doors immediately, but it's just a glorified wealth transfer from, again, those people who had what they thought was the foresight to save money, what is it's supposed to be a good habit to save money, but it punishes the savers because it takes value out of their bank accounts and literally puts it in the hands of Best Western and Marriott and all the others.
Yeah, the more money they inject into the system, the less any of your savings is worth as far as any of your savings in the U.S. dollar.
Right, so they're harming all of their potential customers by doing this, and they don't understand.
Say goodbye to your 401k.
Enough, the people who do make money off this are us, because as they destroy the dollar, those of us who hold Bitcoin will do better and better and better. But, I would rather have live countrymen and a working economy than have my Bitcoin investments go up, or my church's Bitcoin investments go up.
The struggle from the hospitality industry includes 9.1 million layoffs from March to August, as the unemployment rate for the sector peaked at 39.3% in September. So it peaked in September. So again, you're still seeing...
How can they tell what sector you're unemployed in? I know how they can tell what sector you're employed in, but aren't you, if you're unemployed, aren't you unemployed in all sectors simultaneously?
They probably ask you where you had a job.
Yeah, I think they're referencing the last job that you had and calling that, the sector that you came from.
While 4.9 million workers have been called back, that still leaves 4.2 million displaced workers and a jobless rate of 19% in September.
19%.
And that's just, again,
Wow.
the hospitality sector. That's more than double the national level of 7.9%, according to the Labor Department. And again, within 6 months, they're expecting 38,000 of the 57,000 hotels to close.
Oh, that's a lot.
It is.
That is an overwhelming number. Well, and, it makes sense. People aren't traveling. They're not going places.
Nope.
Right? And they got less use for these types of things. 855-450-3733 is our number if you'd like to join us. We've got more Free Talk Live coming up for you.
Remember when you first heard about Bitcoin? How long did it take you to realize this little project would soon change the world? Do you kind of wish you had gotten involved sooner? Well, now's your chance to be part of the next revolution in money. Intercoin is working to finally make crypto go mainstream. It's designed to be scalable enough to support everyday payments and even elections without the state. Bitcoin was originally supposed to be a peer-to-peer cash system, the way we would all pay one another without having to trust any third party. But instead, over time, it mostly became a store of value. That's because every 10 minutes, the Bitcoin network must put all transactions into a block, and that block can only hold so much. If crypto is to become mainstream, for everyone to use it in everyday payments, we need a new architecture, one that's as secure as Bitcoin while being far more scalable. Check out intercoin.org to find out more and maybe pick up some of those coins for yourself.
The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism, will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount. So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 3 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
Pulling no punches. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. President Trump back on the campaign trail in Sanford, Florida, just over a week after he was hospitalized with COVID-19, taking shots at his opponent.
You forgot Mitt Romney's name? He didn't know what state he was in. And he said, today he's a proud Democrat running for the U.S. Senate. No, you can't do it. It's the second time.
The president has several campaign stops this week, including Iowa and Arizona. This is Democratic nominee Joe Biden took on the president while campaigning in Ohio, telling voters in Cincinnati,
This is the most important election of our lifetimes. Not because I'm running, because what's at stake. The next president is going to determine not just the next 4 years, but what the next decade or more is going to look like.
And Biden again hammering the president's response to the pandemic, saying he deliberately lied, and he went after the president for using a quote from Dr. Anthony Fauci in a campaign ad, which Fauci over the weekend said was taken out of context. The first day of hearings today for President Trump's pick for the Supreme Court.
Judge Amy Coney Barrett says she thought carefully before accepting President Trump's nomination to the Supreme Court, choosing to accept it out of a belief of the court's role in the nation.
I believe Americans of all backgrounds deserve an independent Supreme Court that interprets our Constitution and laws as they are written.
Before her opening remarks, the 22 members of the Judiciary Committee each made their opening statements, each Democrat arguing Barrett's confirmation is a threat to the Affordable Care Act. The Supreme Court considers another challenge to the health care law next month. At the Hart Senate Office Building, Jared Halpern, Fox News.
America is listening to Fox News.
For over 20 years, millions of customers have trusted Blinds.com to update their homes. Because Blinds.com makes it easy to get custom blinds that'll give your windows a high-end look without the high-end price. Whether you like to DIY, need design help, or prefer measure and install services, they do it all with easy online ordering and free shipping right to your door. If you're unsure, know that Blinds.com has over 30,000 5-star customer reviews, and they guarantee the perfect fit for your windows, whether you do it yourself or have them measure and install everything for you.
Right now, shop Blinds.com's annual Friends and Family sale right from home with easy online ordering and free shipping right to your door. You'll save up to 40% on everything through October 13th. Blinds, shades, interior shutters, and more. Plus, pay over 24 months at 0% APR on qualifying purchases with PayPal Credit Easy Payments. Ends January 31st, 2021. As of September 1st, 2020, new PayPal credit accounts have a variable purchase APR of 23.99% that will vary with the market based on the prime rate. Minimum interest charge is $2, subject to credit approval. Visit Blinds.com/PayPal. Other rules and restrictions may apply.
The governor of Kentucky taking precautions after coming into contact with someone who tested positive for COVID-19.
Governor Beshear in a video statement Sunday saying that he and his family are in quarantine after a member of his security detail tested positive for coronavirus.
We want to make sure we're setting the example and that we're also keeping other people around us safe, that we're walking the walk, not just talking the talk.
The Democratic governor is saying that he and his family feel great and haven't shown any coronavirus symptoms, that he'll remain in quarantine until cleared by the Kentucky Department of Public Health. The governor's coronavirus briefings will also continue through his quarantine. Jeff Manasso, Fox News.
The governor of China says all 9 million people in the eastern city of Qingdao will be tested for the virus this week after 9 cases linked to a hospital were found. Some companies who have told their employees they can continue to work remotely may be cutting their pay.
The pandemic has some people looking to escape the high cost of
LRN.FM's free-to-air satellite feeds blanket most of 2 continents. It was my goal to put our channel there so people without internet could receive our programs and feed pirate radio stations. As our contract with our satellite provider is coming up for another 3-year renewal, I have to consider calling it quits. It's rare that we get feedback or support from our satellite users. We started a fundraiser a few years ago, and though there are a bunch of great contributors to it, as of this recording, it covers 15% of our monthly satellite costs. Please email lrn@lrn.fm and tell me how you use the satellite feed. Better yet, chip in at fund.lrn.fm. The costs aren't the issue. We can afford them, but why continue something not valued by the market? Want to help? You can join our satellite fundraiser for just $2 a month at fund.lrn.fm. If we raise enough to keep both channels on the air, awesome. If we raise more, I'll add more channels. If not, we can shut them down and go internet only. It's up to you. Thank you for your support. Fund.lrn.fm.
Yesterday, 2 groups of men shot at each other near Bagram Base, where I am. Today, the soldiers are happy about some of the men dying and sad about other men dying. Sergeant First Class Aaron Tomlin is only sad about 4 of the dead people.
It's a long, tough day here. We lost 4 good men.
No, 27 men died. 4 American soldiers and 23 Taliban soldiers. You said that 4 soldiers die and it makes you sad. But you said when Taliban soldiers die, it does not make you sad. I asked Base Commander David Hawkins to make it make sense.
The last thing we resort to is hurting anyone. But you have to understand, it's our job to keep the American people safe from our enemies. And sometimes that includes...
So if you kill your enemies at your job, it is not sad.
Well...
What if I killed my enemy Ryan at my job? It would not be sad?
No, you shouldn't do that.
But he is rude to me. He steals my yogurts. He makes fun of the way I talk.
Look, only soldiers can kill without getting in trouble.
Okay. Are you going to kill Ryan?
No.
It does not make sense.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
Yes, it is Free Talk Live. Welcome back to the show, everyone. And no, we do not recommend you killing your enemies at work.
Most people did not hear that promo.
Oh, really?
Yeah, well, not promo, but the onion.
They
bits.
should have heard it because it was hilarious.
Yeah.
I love the
Hilarious.
autistic reporter.
Yeah. At any rate, we still don't recommend it, whether you heard the
Right.
the bit or not. We just don't recommend it. It's not a good idea.
In case you were wondering.
It is Free Talk Live. In the studio tonight, it's myself, the captain.
It's Ian.
And nobody.
We've been talking about this article from Where is it from again?
The interwebs.
It's from news.com.au.
That's Australia.
And where the WHO, this guy, Mr. Nabarro, says basically that we were wrong. We don't recommend lockdowns. Lockdowns hurt people. And
well, he was trying to make it sound like they didn't ever recommend lockdowns, but they would in certain limited circumstances.
Well, they already did. So, I mean, this is all backpedal. Mm-hmm. But I just wanted to wrap up this article. His message is timely, the article says. In a world
Would have been
first.
timelier 6 months ago.
Yeah. I actually disagree with that. He says, in a world first, a number of health experts from all over the world came together calling for an end to coronavirus lockdowns earlier this week. We covered this.
But the science is settled.
We covered this last week, I believe, on Monday here on Free Talk Live. They created a petition called the Great Barrington Declaration, which said that lockdowns were doing irreparable damage.
Okay, I like the declaration, but isn't that name a little bit over auspicious? I don't know, the Great Barrington Declaration? Who decided it was so great?
Yeah, I brought in an article that I think has been updated. It's from 10/7 that talks about the Great Barrington Declaration just for this purpose. The petition itself, which is named the Great Barrington Declaration after the town in Massachusetts in which it was signed, was written on October 4th and has signatures from at least, several thousand public health scientists, almost 4,000 medical practitioners, and over 60,000 members of the general public. Those numbers have gone up because the article we're reading from tonight is a bit more fresh. It goes on to say, as infectious disease epidemiologists and public health scientists, we have grave concerns about the damaging physical and mental health impacts of the prevailing COVID-19 policies and recommend an approach we call focused protection. Read the petition. Current lockdown policies are producing devastating effects on short and long-term public health.
Wait, who said read the petition? Was that you?
Read the petition.
Oh, read the petition. Yeah, sorry, that's my bad.
You read it wrong.
The article. I did read wrong. Current lockdown policies are producing devastating effects. The petition now has 12,000 signatures, so that's not including the public signatures. That's from the scientists and medical health professionals, so it's growing. It was authored by Sunetra Gupta of the University of Oxford, Jay Bhattacharya of Stanford University, and Martin Kuldoff of Harvard University.
So wait, you're saying not all doctors agree?
Yeah, the science is not settled. When asked about
science is not settled.
I know, right? When he was asked about the petition, Dr. Nabarro had only good things to say. Really important point by Professor Gupta, he said. So that ties in a little bit to what we've talked about previously here on Free Talk Live. And, you know, look, I'm not trying to say, hey, look, everybody, we were right. This isn't some grandiose, self-righteous.
Told you so. Told you so.
But at the same time, this isn't new information. I don't know why it's taken the WHO so long to figure it out.
The current signature count for you, Captain, is viewable over at gbdeclaration.org, where there are 22,808 medical practitioners who have signed, 8,923 medical and public health scientists, and almost 400,000 concerned citizens. So,
nice.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Nice. All right, let's go to your calls and your thoughts. We have Mike calling from Gold Bar, Washington. Mike, you're on the air.
Off with his head. How's that?
Nobody.
It sounded.
Is that worthy of being a lord? If I send my $50 in,
it sounds like it, but you would almost have to be a lord in like New Zealand or
Actually,
Australia.
It sounded more like a queen
I only
to
got
me.
1 foot, so I can stand up in that thing because I only have 1 foot, so I take up less space.
Oh, well, there you go.
So what I called about, though, is Snohomish County, Washington State. I got to go to I have all these underlying conditions. I have diabetes. I just got a stent, had half of my remaining foot removed, which means now I have half a foot. All these things. I got to go through the drive-through at my bank in Everett, Washington, in my wheelchair to get money to go get a massage at a seedy massage parlor next door.
Because you can't go inside, right? Or, access.
You can't go in the bank. Now, this thing is, do I need to wear a mask when I go get this massage or not?
It depends. We actually have a co-host. Co-host of ours.
Mask with a smiley face on one side and a frown.
But to answer your question, a co-host of ours on Sunday nights is a professional massage therapist, and he is being told that he's getting his job back in that industry, and he is being told that he has to not only wear a mask whilst giving a massage, but also apparently didn't he say the customer had to as well, even though they're facing down, and that he has to wear like an apron that is required that they change out the apron between each customer and put a fresh apron on.
Kind of I would hope that they would do that anyway.
And that's New Hampshire, so who knows how bad it is over in Washington.
You're talking about the mountaineer, right? Not the lady that was picking her nose.
Peakless Mountaineer.
Yeah, Peakless Mountaineer, right? Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay. All right, you guys. I'm just having fun. Have a great night.
Thanks for the call tonight, Mike. Appreciate it.
Oops, you just hit the wrong button.
I did.
Wow. What
Sorry to whoever that was.
Yeah, whoever the other caller was. Please call back.
We love him anyway.
That was human error. That
was the caller's name, human error?
No, that was my error.
That's I know that guy.
I believe I received 10 demerits for such a feat.
Well, I'm not going to be delivering them to you, so it's okay.
I don't recognize demerits as currency anyway.
Okay.
So, doubloons, however, if you got some of those, I'll take those. We had you had something else.
I always have something else.
No,
I had Afghanistan. The exit. Proposed exit from Afghanistan.
Well, hold on.
By Christmas time.
Oh yeah, let's talk about that. Yeah, Mr. All you Trumpanzees out there who've been following the orange cheetah, you should be jumping for joy, I would think. No, you're not jumping for joy?
What about?
Joy didn't like that. About Mr. Trump's announcement you're about to tell us about.
Oh, the Afghanistan announcement?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if it's really true, then it's a pretty good one. He's saying on Twitter, of course, that he wants to bring all U.S. troops home from Afghanistan by Christmas.
And if you believe that, I've got some swampland in Florida for you.
My first question is, why hasn't he done so already?
And why not do it before the election?
Right.
Because we have to pass the bill to see what's in it.
Well, he wouldn't have to get legislative approval to do this, I don't think. I think he could just order them to come home.
Right, but if he did it before the election, he'd actually have to do it. Mm-hmm. And if he says he's going to do it after the election, he can get reelected without actually having to bring them home.
Right, then something will come up. Then there'll be some sort of issue.
Always comes up.
There'll be some sort of issue that will intervene. But regardless, he did say that, and apparently it came as a surprise to his own officials. And it says it puts complicated peace negotiations in jeopardy. So the interesting thing about Trump in this particular case, him being this sort of master troll, is that he is, by being pro-peace, or at least verbally, and he's made a few moves during his first term that suggest at the very least he's more pro-peace than his few predecessors. Yeah, it's not saying much, but he did try to do something with Kim Jong-un and South Korea, and he did refuse to authorize a certain bombing raid on, I think it was Syria or something like that. But in this case, he's going to put the liberals in the position of supporting the war. And that's what this story is going to be talking about, that the Taliban supports this. This is going to cause problems. We can't have the troops come home.
Wow, remember when the Democrats were the peace party?
Yeah, whatever happened to that?
So it's a smart move on Trump's part.
Bring them all home is what I say. We got no business out there doing anything anyway. 855, 450 free. More coming up.
Moose is the German Shepherd and hasn't had any kind of health problems at all. He has been on Dinovite since he's a puppy. DINOVITE.com. We tell anybody that has a dog, if there was something that you could do right from the beginning so that you don't have expensive veterinary bills, why would you not do it? Get the Dinovite.
Dinovite for life.
You get some Dinovite, how happy your dog will be.
DINOVITE.com.
Divvy's been a pretty good investment for Free Talk Live. Their ad campaign started in September 2019, and from mid-March to mid-July, the values soared by 10 times. It's not too late. Divvy's new wallet hasn't even released yet, and other things are happening that I can't even say on the radio. If you want to invest and potentially do well, go to DivvyProject.org. I can tell you that FTL is deepening its partnership with the guys from DivvyProject.org. Past performance is not an indication of future profit. DivvyProject.org. DIVI Project.org.
Join liberty-minded voluntarists, anarchists, and libertarians from June 28th through July 4th for ForkFest 2021 at Rogers Campground in the beautiful White Mountains of New Hampshire. ForkFest happens the week after the Porcupine Freedom Festival, and ForkFest is decentralized, which means no one is in charge. That also means there's no ticket cost. Just reserve your camping, RV site, or motel room with Rogers Campground for June 28th through July 4th. Where better to celebrate Independence Day than around other freedom-loving activists in the Shire? You can relax and enjoy the camaraderie of like-minded people, or you can create whatever experience or event you'd like others to have. If you're planning an event for ForkFest, be sure to let others know in advance. You can connect with fellow ForkFesters via the unofficial Telegram chat or the ForkFest forum. Links to those are on the unofficial website, forkfest.party. Mark your calendar for June 28th through July 4th, 2021. We'll see you at forkfest.party. The Free State Project has reached its goal of 20,000 liberty lovers who've pledged to move to New Hampshire and get active to achieve liberty in our lifetime. Perhaps you're trying to figure out what part of New Hampshire should be your destination. If so, consider Keene. You'll find more than 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com. Keene is famous for its historic, publicity-generating activism, as well as being the liberty media capital of the world. It's home to freekeene.com, New Hampshire's destination for liberty activism, news, and opinion. For years, we've been compiling over 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com, where you'll learn about some of what's happening here and what makes Keene a great place to live. If you love liberty, you'll probably enjoy anywhere you end up in the Shire. But do your due diligence first. Please visit move.freekeene.com for the full list of over 150 reasons to move to Keene. That's move.freekeene.com. If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
Cell 411 is a free app for Android and iOS that replaces government-controlled 911. Cell 411 allows you to preset a group of friends or private organizations to show up at any emergency. Cell 411 is a nightmare for the state because it proves their so-called services aren't needed. Cell 411 has had thousands of installs, and of course it's covered by the BIPCOT no government license. Cell 411 because your friends won't shoot you when you're in trouble. Without the government, who would build the emergency services? You and Cell 411. Get it today at getcell411.com.
Do you love Twitter? Make sure you favorite the LRN.FM Twitter account so you can receive our tweets at twitter.lrn.fm. That's twitter.lrn.fm.
Welcome back to Free Talk Live, everybody. The Monday Night Show. Our toll-free number is 855-450-3733. That's 855-450-FREE, as in freedom. And we'll get to your calls and thoughts in just a moment. In the studio tonight, it's myself, the Lord Reverend Captain Kickass.
And me, Ian.
And nobody.
And you can join us as well as many other liberty-minded voluntarists, anarchists, and libertarians from June 28th through July 4th for ForkFest 2021. What is it, the fifth year? Is that right?
That will be the fifth year.
Fifth year of ForkFest on the 4th. Nice. At Rogers Campground in the beautiful White Mountains of New Hampshire. ForkFest happens the week after Porcupine Freedom Festival, and ForkFest is decentralized, which means no one is in charge. That also means There's no ticket cost. Just reserve your camping, RV site, or motel room with Rogers Campground for June 28th through July 4th. Where better to celebrate Independence Day than around other freedom-loving activists in the Shire? You can relax and enjoy the camaraderie of like-minded people, or you can create whatever experience or event you'd like others to have. If you are planning an event for Forkfest, be sure to let others know in advance. You can connect with fellow Forkfesters via the unofficial Telegram chat or the Forkfest forum. Links to those are on the unofficial website, forkfest.party. Mark your calendar for June 28th through July 4th, 2021. We'll see you at forkfest.party. Let's go to your calls and your thoughts. We have Mike calling in from Grand Rapids, Michigan. Mike, you're live on Free Talk Live.
Hi, thanks. I appreciate your time. I was just curious about your guys' thoughts and opinions and feelings on veganism, or more so speciesism. And
can you
all the
define that?
ramifications.
What is speciesism?
Where humans view they have a higher superiority to other species, so we can do as we want to other species. Like, we have the might and the right, might makes right type of deal. Since we can do harm to animals, we do, and it's like, I was just curious about, after delving into the topic, just
what is the alternative to speciesism?
What is the alternative to speciesism? Just respecting of other animals, being more respectful.
No, we
of other
only just
species.
want to clarify. Are we only talking about animals, or are we including insects?
Here's a good example of like speciesism. You see like a dog, and we're not eating dogs.
Some people do. Some cultures do.
Eating dogs, we think of that's weird, but then when you eat a pig, that's normal. And so
some people do eat dogs. My question was more about what's included in the idea of animals to you. Is an insect an animal?
Yeah, to a degree, yeah. That's sentient. And
so they're sentient.
There's some really smart bugs. So, if you look at the bug kingdom, there's such a wide spectrum of species of
So
bugs.
what you're saying is a person who is anti-speciesist. So a speciesist believes that humans are on top and they can do whatever they want, but an anti-speciesist is somebody who will never kill a mosquito?
Oh, I wouldn't put it that way. You do what you do to survive. You can kill out of like defense or out of like survival.
What about
and out of practicality of everything? Like,
what about
killing bugs? You can, there's always a line that people are willing to draw, and that's what the whole speciesism thing is. Where do you draw the line? Like, but we're not out here killing. Some people are totally fine with killing animals just for their tusks or their fins or their eyes, or where do we draw the respect line of, we have a house pet of a cat, but we're not eating it?
I draw the line of respect at your private property. So if you want to do a thing on your private property to the things that are on that private property, then you can do that. Now, I may decide to disrespect you personally for the things that you do there, but I'm probably not going to do a whole lot to try to stop you on it unless it is within my purview. So like if you're beating your dog or something like that, I may decide to step in. But if you've got a ton of land and you're hunting things on it, that's probably not going to be something I am going to do anything about. So I think it should be the market that decides how animals are treated, and that means our neighbors make choices individually for themselves. I would never try to force my view of the way things ought to be on most people.
Well, I'm curious.
Even if they're like abusing other people or harming
I just told
people.
you. I just told you if they're abusing their dog or something, and I'm aware of it, then I may actually step in, to try to do something about that, and that would include if they're abusing other people as well. So
is murdering like we mass breed land animals by the billions, and then we murder them. Is that not harming of those animals? And instead of a dog, we're mass killing these hogs.
Well, what about
according to the
Mike,
veterinary in general, it is actually bad for them.
Hang on, Mike, I have a question. What about yeast?
yeast, like, we're just getting down to like tiny particles. Like yeast are
creatures.
It's all good. Yeast is good. If you eat nutritional yeast, has high amounts of B vitamins. If you look into that.
Right, but I'm talking about in the manufacture of even vegan foods like bread, for example. Yeast is expelled, right? Yeast is used, and then the yeast die at some point, right? So you're murdering a bunch of yeast just to make bread.
Yeah, and you would say you murder the plants too, right? You would have to murder you don't murder apples when they fall from the trees.
Oh, you were talking about creatures, so
Yeah, creatures. You draw the line. Like, what is a yeast really? How big of a creature is that? Like, that's the whole argument here. Like,
so what's your basis for where you draw the line?
Yes.
What's your basis for where you draw the line?
I think necessity. Like, is it necessary for me to consume any animal products? And then if you are considering a yeast an animal, which I wouldn't really consider an animal, I would still, be conscious of your own actions. There's people and they survive their entire life and they thrive and, and they're perfectly fine going their entire life without consuming any animal products. So therefore shows that it's unnecessary. And when there's so many other alternatives.
Are there also people who don't eat animal products, but they're really unhealthy as well? Like they're unhealthily skinny or weak or whatever?
Yeah, no doubt about it.
Yeah. So why would people want to be unhealthy, and if they could be healthier by eating animals?
Here's another interesting little thing about it is plants don't contain any cholesterol. And if you're looking at the leading cause of death, what is it? It's heart disease. What is heart disease caused by? Cholesterol. So if you look at the karmatic wheel, we are killing all these animals off by the billions. Fish, they go by the trillions. We kill fish by the trillions.
Do you think the animals would kill you if you were injured? In the woods?
They might do it out of survival. Animals eat out of survival.
Hey, thanks for the call tonight, Mike. We appreciate it. 855-450 free is our number. More coming up.
News from news.bitcoin.com. Economist claims that value of U.S. dollar will descend by 35% in the next year, and the dollar is the most overrated major currency in the world today. U.S. Federal Reserve is actively working on turning the U.S. dollar into a digital currency. Bitcoin set a new record for time above $10,000 in value. Bitcoin.com is your source for getting started with cryptocurrencies, getting a wallet, buying Bitcoin Cash, mining, and all the latest cryptocurrency news at news.bitcoin.com.
Do you want more businesses accepting Bitcoin Cash and Dash? Now with AnyPay, you earn passive income for every purchase at those businesses. Finally, a financial incentive to spread Bitcoin Cash and Dash. You made it happen, so you get the rewards. Download the AnyPay Cash Register app and add your cryptocurrency wallet addresses. Then install it at a real-life business and tell us what you did at AnyPayInc.com. AnyPayInc.com.
This is Michael Dean from the Freedom Fiends. I've run websites since 1996 and have used over a dozen web hosts in that time. AgristHosting.com is the only one that hasn't broken my heart. Agrist Hosting's uptime and service is stellar, and their DDoS mitigation is the best I've seen. That's important because if you tell the truth in this world, you'll ruffle feathers. And some people will try dirty tricks to silence your voice. No matter what the haters hit us with, Agrist Hosting keeps our websites online. If you have a mission-critical commercial presence or a world-changing activism site, you cannot tolerate any skullduggery. So go with AgristHosting.com. Have a WordPress or blog site, but you're not satisfied with performance or uptime? Or just want raw hosting? Want to pay with Bitcoin? Agrist Hosting specializes in high-performance hosting with personalized service. Go to AgristHosting.com and click on the button that says Get Hosted. That's AgristHosting.com.
Are you a cryptocurrency advocate? The Crypto Tip is the ideal outreach tool to help new people discover cryptocurrency. It's a printable business card-sized tip that you can give to service providers, preferably in addition to a good cash tip. When the server scans the QR code, it'll bring up an explanation of cryptocurrency, how to install a wallet, and allow them to claim the tip. If they don't claim the crypto, you get your tip refunded to you after a time period you specify. Plus, if they do claim the tip, you get an email alert. Create as many tips as you want at cryptotip.org. That's cryptotip.org. The LRN.FM social media channels have been revamped. We've eliminated Facebook and focused on other platforms like Twitter and Mastodon, the decentralized alternative to Twitter. On our accounts, you'll find posts from multiple LRN.FM show hosts together in one place. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.lrn.fm, or better yet, move to the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm. I think you'll like it.
We have some good news. The indictments against Ross Ulbricht in the District of Maryland were dismissed with prejudice, meaning they can never be refiled. This is especially good because those indictments contain the only charge ever made that Ross engaged in murder for hire. This was a serious allegation that Ross Ulbricht denies. It was never prosecuted or ruled on by a jury, but was trumpeted by the federal government and the media as if it were proven fact. The Maryland court held these indictments for almost 5 years, poisoning Ross's case and leaving him under a cloud of unproven allegations. As explained in Ross's appeal to the Supreme Court, the fact that the judge used these allegations to give Ross a draconian sentence of double life without parole violated his Sixth Amendment right to a jury trial. Judges are required to issue sentences based on convictions decided by a jury, not unproven allegations never even charged at trial. Although this is a positive development, the dropped indictment will not set Ross free. Now, a presidential pardon is Ross's only hope of freedom. Sign the petition at freeross.org. freeross.org.
You can put the Liberty Radio Network on the air in your area. Visit broadcast.lrn.fm to learn how. Broadcast.lrn.fm.
Free Talk Live. Welcome back, everybody, to the show. Our toll-free number is 855-450-3733. That's 855-450-FREE, as in freedom. In the studio tonight, it's myself, the captain.
It's Ian.
And nobody.
Captain, nobody had said something to the guy who was calling in about speciesism.
Speciesism, right. And I had a thing I wanted to say about that, too. Go ahead.
Well, I wanted nobody to explain his question. He asked a question about, what do you think about cats? The guy on the phone was talking about the speciesist things, which I'd never even heard of before. It sounds very familiar. It sounds like veganism, basically, but another word for it, where he says a speciesist is the belief that a human is the top of everything, and so might makes right, and so you can kill whatever other species you want to. And he was asking questions about, how we felt about that. But no, but you asked something about, what do you think about cats? What did you mean by that?
Basically, cats are one of the few animals that actually kills for sport. And so,
like batting a mouse around in the
and eventually they'll a lot of times they'll bite their heads off and then or kill them and then just leave them there because they're not actually hungry. They just saw something and they wanted to kill it. So I was wondering if he thought it was a good idea to execute cats because they're murderers.
I see.
I would have loved to have heard that one.
His original question was, what are your thoughts and opinions on veganism and speciesism? And my thoughts and opinions on both of those things after hearing him define loosely what speciesism might be is the same as it is for, almost everything else. If you find that you would like to be a vegan or a speciesist or non-speciesist, as it were, depending on, which side of that you fall on, feel free to do so, as long as you don't force anybody else to do that as well.
Well, see, that's where I would have liked to have gone with the conversation if we'd had more time with him. I would have asked, what he would like to see done about speciesists. Is he going to be okay with just trying to convince them and failing? Because the odds that you're ever going to convince a majority of the population or supermajority of the population to embrace the idea of never eating an animal product ever again in their life. Remember, animal products don't just mean meat, right? It means like ice cream and all kinds of other things. So to suggest that you're ever going to get to that point voluntarily seems pretty unrealistic. I mean, maybe there'll be some sort of crazy vegan renaissance or whatever, but I doubt that, given that so many people enjoy eating meat and other animal products. So what would he like to do about it? Is he going to just be okay with fighting this battle that basically can't be won throughout his entire life of words? Or does he want to get the government in charge of this and start arresting people?
Right. My advice to him is, live your philosophy. If those things, veganism, speciesism, is part of your personal philosophy, go ahead and live those things. And then when people ask you questions, be prepared to answer them with why you've made those choices that you've made. And that's probably the best you're going to do as far as changing people's minds.
I get why it's frustrating to somebody like him who, they look at every animal life as equivalent to their own. And they see that as a terrible tragedy when those lives are snuffed out. And even going so far as to actually suggest that insects are on the same level as, he even called them sentient. And I don't know. I haven't studied all insects. Maybe some of them are more so than others, but I certainly don't think mosquitoes are on the same level of cats or dogs or horses or, any other mammal or whatever.
I mean, look, I drive a car. I have run over some sort of an animal, raccoon, rodent, something. I don't know. It made me a little bit sad, of course, but then I drove on. I was over it. Now, I don't know. Does that make me a speciesist?
I think just about everybody is a speciesist.
What it's not going to do, I'll tell you, is make me stop driving my car, right? I mean, I need transportation to get to and fro.
Yep.
So.
One thing's for sure, there are plenty of animals out there that will kill you if they have the opportunity. And it may be a giant cat, right? You talk about cats being killing for sport, killing for fun. You run up against the wrong cat. Let me just look at what, was it Siegfried or Roy? I forget which one of them got his head chomped on or his neck chomped on by whichever cat they had in captivity. But, these animals do not believe in rights.
Right.
And they will not reciprocate those rights to you. Rights are a human construct. Now, that's not to say there couldn't be some day out into the future where we manage to communicate effectively with dolphins. Like already you can teach them words and there's some level of communication that can go on there. Dolphins or other animals that we could have some sort of meaningful communication wherein those animals could agree to concepts like rights. But we're talking about some pretty futuristic, space age kind of concepts here that how close we are to something like that happening, I don't know. In the meanwhile, let's let the market decide. I don't think most people are in favor of slaughtering dogs and to get their meat. I don't think most people are in favor of slaughtering dolphins to put them on display or whatever. But I don't think a lot of people have a problem killing some chickens. I mean, that's just something that's going to be very difficult to persuade people to do, especially when they're so tasty.
Yeah. Meat is murder. Tasty, juicy, delicious murder.
Isn't that people eating tasty animals, PETA?
Yes.
And, if the aliens show up tomorrow, of course, some of the conspiracy theorists believe they're already here, but if the, aliens come down onto the planet and they're clearly technologically superior to humans, well, you might start getting eaten and there won't be much you'll be able to do about it.
And humans do reproduce, so, effectively too, right? So if there was going to be some other form of being that viewed us as a food source, that would be certainly a bonus for them that we reproduce effectively.
Breed us, breed humans.
Yes.
It's a tough issue.
Yeah, human beings are animals, right? And so within that, we must coexist with other animals on the planet, but I recognize the danger in that other animals will certainly kill us. So, perhaps we need to be able to kill animals when we need to.
Well, on one hand, you've got sort of the nature of things where in the state of nature, it's kill or be killed.
Right.
And that's just the reality of it. The vegan, I presume, or this anti-speciesist, whatever he would call himself, I'm sure their argument would be, well, but we can be better than that, right? Like, okay, that might have been the way that it was, but now we know better. Now we can act different. We can move beyond our instincts, and that's it. That's an attractive calling, but so is a sizzling steak.
Steak. Hey, did you know the difference between humans and, well, the rest of the animal kingdom? Speaking of animals, is that animals can move about the planet freely, whereas humans cannot.
Some can. I mean, the birds certainly have no restrictions.
Well, I'm just saying that human beings need to get a passport if they want to leave their, quote, country, unquote.
Yeah. Well, right. And to me, it's the human and human-on-human interactions that are primary to me, right? Like, so I can understand where the vegan comes from.
Yeah.
And that, and what they believe. I get it. But I'm more concerned, way more concerned with humans killing humans.
Yes.
And humans torturing humans, and humans imprisoning humans, and humans, charging other humans criminally who've never harmed other humans. These are all so way more important to me than
Agreed.
whatever's going on with, animal so-called rights.
But I bring up the travel because of this article from RT that talks about no long-distance travel until 2022 for Australians, and that's only if the population-wide vaccine is rolled out next year, their budget predicts. Australians weary of restrictions are out of luck.
Sounds like a crock.
As the country's new budget predicts, social distancing will continue for 2 years, and long-distance travel is to remain off limits until everyone is able to get a COVID-19 jab.
Hey, guys, it's only going to be 2 weeks. 2 years. 2 decades. 200, 2 eons.
2 lifetimes.
I want to know
2
what long distance
generations.
means. I hope they'll tell us what that means.
We hope they will tell us what that means. Free Talk Live, 855-450-3733. We'll talk more about this coming up.
What if you could cut your heating bills this winter with your existing wood-burning fireplace and not spend thousands doing it? You can with Great Wall of Fire fireplace grates. Our U.S. patented made-in-America Wall of Fire grates increase fireplace efficiency, eliminate fireplace smoke problems, and come with a 30-day money-back guarantee. See our grates in action and get free shipping from walloffire.com or call 800-274-7364. Fireplace heat without fireplace smoke. walloffire.com.
Are you ready for what's next? It's likely coming. More food shortages, power outages, grocery stores closed, social unrest. Ask yourself, do you have enough food and supplies on hand to last at least 30 days? Most Americans do not, but you can. Avoid the panic of the last-minute rush. Order your 4-week supply of emergency food today from MyPatriotSupply.com. Starvation or dependency on the government are your only alternatives. Avoid those and the pain of being unprepared. Go to MyPatriotSupply.com right now. Build your emergency food supply with meals that last up to 25 years in storage, shipped discreetly to your door. Folks that know what's coming are using today to prepare. There's time for you to do the same. That's MyPatriotSupply.com, the original Patriot Preparedness Company. MyPatriotSupply.com.
Silver has always been nature's very own antibiotic, and only one system allows you to generate an endless supply of natural silver solutions. SilverLungs.com. You'll find no wild claims or pseudoscience, just a lifetime of nano-sized pure silver solutions. The Silver Lungs generator allows you to make your own, so stop paying for silver solutions. The unique lung delivery system targets respiratory infections where other silver solutions simply cannot reach. See the Silver Lungs generator and lung delivery system at SilverLungs.com. That's SilverLungs.com.
Join liberty-minded voluntarists, anarchists, and libertarians from June 28th through July 4th for ForkFest 2021 at Rogers Campground in the beautiful White Mountains of New Hampshire. ForkFest happens the week after the Porcupine Freedom Festival, and ForkFest is decentralized, which means no one is in charge. That also means there's no ticket cost. Just reserve your camping, RV site, or motel room with Rogers Campground for June 28th through July 4th. Where better to celebrate Independence Day than around other freedom-loving activists in the Shire? You can relax and enjoy the camaraderie of like-minded people, or you can create whatever experience or event you'd like others to have. If you're planning an event for ForkFest, be sure to let others know in advance. You can connect with fellow ForkFesters via the unofficial Telegram chat or the ForkFest forum. Links to those are on the unofficial website, forkfest.party. Mark your calendar for June 28th through July 4th, 2021. We'll see you at forkfest.party. There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com. Do you have a WordPress website running WooCommerce and want to accept cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, Dash, Bitcoin Cash, and Bitcoin SV? Now you can easily enable crypto payments from your customers by adding the AnyPay plugin to your WordPress site. Just visit AnyPayInc.com and set up your account by entering your cryptocurrency wallet addresses in the admin. Then enable the AnyPay plugin in your WooCommerce. That's it. Now your website takes crypto like Bitcoin thanks to AnyPayInc.com. AnyPayInc.com.
Help get LRN.FM into more ears. Visit promote.lrn.fm for a free bumper sticker, flyers, banners, graphics, and more. Promote.lrn.fm.
Yeah, that's what he said. He said, yeah. It is Free Talk Live. Yeah, that's right. Ha ha. He's laughing at you because you didn't know it was Free Talk Live. But now you know that this is indeed Free Talk Live. We're in the final segment here of tonight's Monday edition. I am your host, the Lord Reverend Captain Kickass. Joining me in the studio, it's
Ian.
And nobody.
And we'll get to some of your calls and thoughts. We'll talk more about the lockdown in Australia and how it looks like they're going to limit long-distance travel either
they already have
until 2022 or until you get stabbed in the arm with some sort of COVID vaccine. We'll get to more of that in just a minute. But
I found the tweet, by the way, from Donald Trump.
Oh, nice. We'll get to that too. But first, I wanted to just say thank you to tonight's amplifier, Pazza, P-A-Z-Z-A. Pazza, thank you. You are a silver contributor. If you do not know what the amplifier program is, please head over to amp.freetalklive.com and you can find out all about it. Essentially, it is a way for you to contribute to the show. The donations there are used specifically to get us on more radio stations. We're currently on around 190 or so stations. We could be on 200, 250. It all depends on you. Go and visit amp.freetalklive.com. And thank you again, Pazza, for your contributions in helping us keep this show on the air. We appreciate it. Let's talk about the Donald Trump tweet.
Yeah, so I'd only just heard about him saying this, but apparently he actually said it on October 7th, so it was last week on Wednesday. That's why I couldn't find it real easily. But according to CNBC.com, Trump tweeted, "We should have the small remaining number of our brave men and women serving in Afghanistan home by Christmas." And according to The Guardian, that has taken the so-called government officials by surprise. And they say the Taliban is happy about it, and I won't get into it here, but basically Trump's got the liberal media essentially proclaiming how the war should continue, which is brilliant trolling. And, I hope he's actually telling the truth. The history of Donald Trump with his opinions about Afghanistan go back for years prior to him becoming president.
Oh, yeah.
Where he has said multiple times that that war should be ended. And maybe he means it this time. I wouldn't get my hopes up. I wouldn't believe the promises of a politician. But if he's promising to bring all the troops home by Christmas and then he doesn't do that, that will definitely reflect poorly on him. Of course, at that point, it won't matter. But anyway, there you go.
Yeah, I just wish our military wasn't empire building. And by our, I mean the United States military. I don't really claim ownership to it of any kind.
Yeah, they won't treat you as an owner, that's for sure.
That is for certain. But I see no purpose for there to be as many military bases as there are around the country, around the globe. Pardon to the flat earthers out there who are listening.
Here's a quote from Ashley Jackson. This is in The Guardian. She is the director of the ODI Center for the Study of Armed Groups. She says, it's no surprise the Taliban have welcomed Trump's announcement that he'd have the troops home by Christmas. They spent 19 years fighting for this. This is the last leverage the U.S. had left in talks with the Taliban, and Trump is proposing to give it away for free. So she's saying 19 years isn't long enough of a time in Afghanistan. We need to. The U.S. government needs to stay there longer because, well, the Taliban's still there, and so therefore the U.S. government should still be there as long as the Taliban is until the peace talks or whatever. And Trump's just like, all right, well, let's just bring the troops home. That's how you get to peace.
Yes.
You don't have to have talks.
Right.
You can just say bye.
Yeah. Which is something that should have been done eons ago. All right, swinging back to this bit about Australia and their lockdowns and travel restrictions continuing until 2022 at a minimum, or until there is a coronavirus vaccine that they're no doubt going to force people to get.
Oh, joy.
This is from RT.com. Widespread adoption of a vaccine for the novel coronavirus will be a prerequisite. Novel, whatever, will be a prerequisite for Australians being able to travel long distances again, according to the country's new budget that was unveiled Tuesday. Until that vaccine is rolled out, they can expect social distancing, intermittent lockdowns, and a stagnant economy.
No, not just a consistent lockdown, but an intermittent one. So they'll let you out for a little bit, then they'll lock you down again. They'll let you out for a little bit, and then they'll lock you down again, like New York City.
They used to let me out of my cell for an hour a day.
Yeah, that's right.
Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Lockdown or no lockdown?
Because that's good for business, right? Where you don't ever know when you're going to be able to open again, because you'll be open for a little bit, then they'll come lock you down again, and your customers are going to get tired of trying to figure out when they can go and when they can't go. And so, I mean, just lock them down and keep it all locked down. Let's turn it into a total prison state, 24/7. The government can start feeding people bread and water, and that'll work out really well, like it did in the Soviet Union.
Yeah. Quote from the article, it is assumed that over the forecast period, material localized outbreaks of COVID-19 occur, but are largely contained. A population-wide Australian COVID-19 vaccination program is assumed to be fully in place by late 2021. General social distancing restrictions are assumed to continue until a vaccine is fully available, unquote, reads the part of the document titled Key Assumptions. This is from
what happens when
budget.
You assume.
Yeah, you make an ass out of you and me. Prime Minister Scott Morrison hinted that while long-distance international travel will remain off-limits
what is that?
for the
international.
foreseeable future. Yeah.
Okay.
Long-distance international travel will remain off-limits for the foreseeable future. Quote, our borders will open up at some point to safe locations, whether it be New Zealand or parts of the Pacific or places like South Korea or Japan or countries that have had a much higher rate of success in containing the virus, speaking to reporters on Tuesday. So it sounds to me like you can travel around Australia, but not outside of Australia, is what it sounds like to me, to answer your question from earlier.
Although in Melbourne a few weeks ago, they were on a total lockdown where you couldn't do anything.
Yeah. So you want to see what the future looks like? Probably looks like Australia. Sad to say.
Yeah, well, I mean, as long as people keep doing what they're told, they're going to keep getting told what to do.
Let's go to your calls and thoughts. We've got David in New Mexico. David, you're on Free Talk Live.
Yeah, so details on telephonic court hearings for anybody interested. But yeah, what you just said, you're going to have to do as they did with the American Revolution, or they will just continue tightening down and tightening down and tightening down until they've done every last thing to you that they want to do to you. So decide when you want to get a spine, people. I'm not talking to you guys, I'm talking to everybody.
Right.
But that's what's going to happen. It will continue until you stop it.
And these things never change, even back in the days of slavery. Frederick Douglass, who, if you have never read Frederick Douglass, whoever you are, I suggest you do, said, "Power concedes nothing without a demand. It never did and it never will. Find out what any people will quietly submit to, and you have found out the exact nature of injustice and wrong which will be imposed upon them. And these will continue till they are resisted with either words or blows or with both. The limits of tyrants are prescribed by the endurance of those whom they oppress." Frederick Douglass.
Timeless words.
Truth.
Anything more, David?
Yeah, well, I was calling about for anybody who's interested on these court hearings that anybody can attend via the telephone if they want to, and I can cut to the chase, which I'm not going to do right now, and give you a telephone number and a password for each unique hearing, or I can teach you to fish. And anybody who's interested in fishing, you go to New Mexico courts. You can Google all this. NewMexicoCourts.gov. They have a case to look up, and you look up by my name, and they do it in reverse. It's Olson David, and Olson is with an O-N. And then you find the current cases, and you click on them, and it'll tell you when the hearings are. And then you go to and they're in the Metro Court, which it says there. And so then you go to the Metro Court website, and they will give you a table that shows all of the telephone numbers and.
My God, I wish I could just watch it on video, but thanks for the tips there. Definitely appreciate it.
Yeah.
Can you record it?
If you have the technical ability.
Yeah, you can. And until somebody comes and tells you you can't, you can.
I'm pretty sure the New Mexico government goons can't come here to tell us that. So, I would think you could record it. Nobody.
That's the thought.
Just don't ask permission.
We appreciate the call tonight, David. Thanks for the update. Sorry, folks. We're about out of time.
We knew that was going to happen.
Yeah. You can, if you've missed any of the show, you can get Free Talk Live archives, archives.freetalklive.com.
Or just freetalklive.com.
Or freetalklive.com. We'll see you all next time. Have a good night.
From New York Times and Wall Street Journal bestselling author Larry Correia comes the latest chapter in the epic military fantasy saga of The Forgotten Warrior, when the Grand Inquisitor perverts the law in his genocidal plot to kill every man